Everybody, thank you for being here. I would ask you to please start to find your spots and take your seats. I know we still have some folks checking in right now. We want to be respectful of your time. We know you're in business, and business only gets done when you're in the business. So, but we do hope today that what we're going to discuss, because one of the things we want to make sure is we hear from you. It's not going to be us talking as much as extracting information from you. So we hope that what's discussed today is you're going to find productive. The reason we're here, and you'll hear us saying this throughout the mid-morning, the mid-afternoon, is that we want to make sure that we align all the resources in our system. And in our system, I mean CCSD is here. CCSD, where are you? That's where it starts. Right? Talent development starts in the school district. They are our regional school district. But it continues after the secondary system, as you know, into post-secondary skill acquisition. And, of course, there's the community college, the four-year universities, but also vocational training. And, all these options, that's part of the development pipeline. And by the way, also training through you. You might have customized programs that have to happen in the site. And so what we want to do as your partners in the skill acquisition system, that ecosystem, is really, number one, understand what your needs are, short, mid, and long, and then build solutions to that. Use the millions of dollars that we receive as a region to prepare our future workforce the right way, in a really focused, purposeful way. And I know you say, well, that's very sensible. Why haven't we been doing that? Don't ask me that question. That's going to unlock a lot of a Pandora box. But what you will hear a lot about today also is this workforce blueprint, which is now in its third version. And again, it's our region's way to start to create a foundation or a roadmap to do the work that we're talking about. So the blueprint looks at 7 industry sectors that have been identified for our region to help us diversify our economy. As you know, our region has been fundamentally dependent on a couple of industries. If you talk about our state, hospitality, tourism, and then mining. And so you'll find here industries that in Southern Nevada will be important to us as we do our work of economic diversification. And so again, one of those 7 is general and advanced manufacturing. That's why we're here. Today you'll hear from some folks. Scott Mulrath is walking over there right now. He will be up here again to kind of talk to you about why the Chambers of Commerce are behind this. The Henderson Chamber is part of this group that published this workforce blueprint. It's not just the Chambers of Commerce, but also the Las Vegas Global Economic Alliance, who is out there recruiting the businesses to diversify our economy, perhaps some of your supply chain. And so they'll be here later today as well. And later in the morning, you'll hear again from all of us, from the skill acquisition partners. But for now, we're all in listening mode. And that's the most important thing I want you to know, that we're very purposeful about this meeting, this event, because you're here in the center for a reason. We're following a national model called the Next Generation or Next Gen model, where the work that we do is based on the employer's voice. And so I know this is symbolic, you here in the middle, but outside of the perimeter, you'll see the rest of us. And again, you'll see us in listening mode until it's you want to hear from us or need to hear from us. So that's the structure of today's morning. We're also going to take some time. Maybe, how many are we missing, George? I want to know if I should trigger or maybe delay a little bit more. How many? Yeah, thank you. So we usually, by the way, bless you. This is our second launch of the 7 industry sectors. We launched healthcare last month at the Vegas Chamber in downtown Las Vegas. So this is the second one, and we're going to get to all 7. The next one is information and communication technology, which is happening at the Blackfire building, the UNLV building on Durango and 215 next month. And so again, one of the things we did last month that worked really well is we took a 30-minute break in the middle for a working lunch. And during that time, we did introductions and some a little bit more light conversation. And so, but I'm seeing here, I'm going to wait to see if we're almost ready. We're missing 6. Okay, then I think maybe we should do introductions now, because if I start, they might miss some. So I'm going to go ahead and, Jake, if I was to ask you, let's see, and I can't see now because the water's here. How do you pronounce your name?
Yes, my name is Javed Matuala. I'm with Vadatech. I'm the former Director of Operations, currently a Senior Program Manager at Vadatech. Vadatech is a supplier for embedded computing systems for commercial and military, and we have our headquarters here in Henderson with multiple manufacturing facilities here and worldwide locations as well.
We're glad you're here.
Thank you.
How about John?
John Pryor with VSR Industries. We are a gaming manufacturer, so we pretty much produce anything that goes inside of a casino. So anything on the interior of a casino, you see it, we probably have made it. And we manufacture everything here out of Henderson. We have one small manufacturing area in South Africa, but we are a global company as well. And so, you know, we have about 380 employees currently, but that's what we do.
We're glad you're here, John. Rick?
Hi, Rick Asafefa. I'm with Extreme Manufacturing. And two principal products are personnel lifts and booms. So we can lift anything from 7,000 pounds up to 70,000. So again, large operation right on Eastgate. I work out of the assembly center there, and I'm the HR business partner.
We're glad you're here. I did tour that facility with Dawn, I think almost a year and a half ago, and it's not your grandpa's 8-harn lift anymore. They're like green, mean machines, like look like monster extreme machines, right? And then also next door, which I saw a name, yes, the Cube people are here too, right? From your group, isn't there a?
She couldn't make it.
Oh, she couldn't make it. Okay, well then we go to Chad.
Hi, my name is Chad Jones. I'm the Director of Operations at PLI Card Marketing Solutions. We are on the corner of Martin Luther and Cheyenne. We are a one-stop shop for all your gift card needs, as well as hospitality cards. So we do hotel key cards as well. We supply most of the casinos here in Vegas with players cards, hotel key cards.
I'm going to tell you a story, Chad. I spent 20 years in the hospitality business and learned there that the tactile experience of a card is really important. And Irene's going to laugh over there because our business card, we put a lot of thought into it. It has tactile elements, and it's got, you know, a touch, if you will, something that you can remember is what we learned. And so I was really proud of my card until today. You know, you came with his really fancy card that shines and stuff. And then, if that wasn't enough, I met a guy who has a card made of silver. And that guy's sitting over there. We're going to hear for us. So I don't feel as proud as our business cards anymore. So we got to, I don't know, we got to do gold or something. But you guys are awesome. Thank you, Chad, for being here. John.
Thank you. Hi, John Fumara from Ocean Spray Cranberries. I'm the plant manager over there. We manufacture beverages for the whole Southwest. We're one of 8 manufacturing facilities in the United States, and there's 2 more internationally as well. So looking forward to this partnership and growth here, looking for talent.
Thank you, John. We're happy you're here. Ray. I remember Ray.
I'm always lucky. I get to sit next to the food people at every one of these panels. Ray Edwards, founder and CEO of a company called PureTech. We're about 18 months new to Las Vegas. We manufacture a technology, a device that is designed to keep more people and spaces together and less masks in the process. We monitor for health environments indoors and treat those automatically with technology. Super excited to be part of this panel, but really more excited about growing our manufacturing base here in Southern Nevada.
Thank you for being here, Ray. Tom.
Good morning. My name is Tom Power. I'm the president and the CEO of Sunshine Minting. We've had a presence in Las Vegas since 2007, but since 2018, we're just down the road from Extreme Manufacturing on Eastgate, moving our corporate and manufacturing facilities down here to the former Milgard Windows building. SMI is the world's largest producer of silver and gold products for the minting industry. Our primary customers are sovereign governments around the world. Most of this product is produced right out of here in Henderson. We have a satellite facility in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, and then another small facility in Shanghai, China. And we're very excited to bring some of our experiences and work with this group here.
Thank you for being here, Tom. We're very fortunate. I met Tom a few months ago now, and we're very fortunate because he has been part of a group of business folks like you who has done the work we want to do in another state. And so he's going to share those experiences and make sure we get there. Again, remember why you're here is because we want to create solutions, use our funds to create solutions for your problems. These short-term ones about we need bodies now, but also what are we doing in our community college and our school district to create a sustainable talent pipeline for you. And so this is for you, this industry sector partnership. And Tom, brought a surprise. I'm not going to reveal much of it now. He's going to do it later, but he's brought something really cool for everybody for later today in our working lunch. So, Victor.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Victor Ramos, the operation manager from Evans Packing Solutions. We manufacturing 100% compostables, 100% plant-based in food service. We produce trays, 16-ounce cups, lids, knives, spoons, forks, and it's going to be the second facility in the United States. Our sister facilities in South Carolina is in full operation right now, and we are very excited to be here and be part of these partnerships.
Thank you, Victor. Alex.
Yeah, Alex Carell, plant manager for Evanes Inc. And really, I'm just going to piggyback off of what Victor said. We do have a sister company out in South Carolina. They do extrusion for straws, for 5 millimeter, 8 millimeter straws. And we're actually 4 months coming to Las Vegas. So our facility is over there on Belt Road. And we're just excited to be here. And just thank you for the opportunity that you're giving us. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex. Dean.
Hi, Dean Krogstad with Aristocrat Technologies. I'm the director of the manufacturing operations over there. We make slot machines and player tracking systems, and we think it's pretty cool. At the plant now, we're on Bircher Road, which is over in between Valley View and Dean Martin by Sunset. We're going to be moving our operation here next summer down by the M Resort. We're building a new 285,000 square foot facility over there. So looking forward to partnering with and hearing ideas here of how we can grow into this new facility.
We're happy you're here, Dean. Do you ever walk by your chief legal officer, Chris Hill, by her office?
No, I'm never over by Chris. So,
okay.
Yeah.
If you do, her new assistant's name is Darcy Kim. Tell her hi, because she was part of our team. You guys stole her, so.
Darcy was the one that emailed me and said, hey, get over there.
Oh,
so
okay.
I'll tell Darcy.
So she's still working for us secretly then.
Yeah.
Great.
Hi, my name is Anthony Pucci. I'm a co-founder with my brother of Cubicle, where we make and manufacture phone booths for open offices. And it's kind of grown over the last 2 years of more medical stuff, COVID testing, isolation rooms, and now we're getting more and more to office interiors, making modular private offices for people that are fully enclosed. We are based in North Las Vegas, and we moved here from California now 2 years ago.
Awesome. Well, welcome, Nick. We're glad you're here. So again, later we're going to introduce the rest of us, but we're going to get to work right now. I think we've given enough time. It's almost 15 minutes. So, I'm sorry. There's 2 people that just joined. Did you go back to Sunshine Minting? Ken and Jason.
Yes. Hello, everybody. Jason Truby. I'm the Vice President of Operations, Sunshine Minting. I'm sure Tom kind of touched a little bit about what we do and who we are. We've been here for a while. I personally have been here in Nevada for about 12 years. Love the state, love the city of Henderson, love everything that's happening here in the metropolitan area. And we're just excited to be part of a growing partnership of manufacturers and business leaders trying to develop our skill sets and our workforce and trying to maintain our businesses, really what it comes down to, really trying to maintain and grow, not be in recovery mode all the time. So thank you for having us.
Thank you, Jason, for being here. Ken.
Good morning, and thank you for inviting me. I'm Ken Lawson, Human Resources Director for Sunshine Minting, and we've got a lot of work to do to ramp up and increase our head count, a lot of production to be done, and we're very happy to be part of the community and involved in all these new initiatives.
We do. Thank you for being Ken. I was just, before you guys walked in, I was sharing I'm loaded with SMI products here. I have a silver business card, and I have a surprise you guys brought for everybody. So don't leave early without your commemorative special gift that SMI brought. So with that, we're going to dive right into the work because, again, really we want to hear from you. And just to, one final reminder, all this work is because we have already in Nevada millions of dollars through our school district, our community college, our universities, the workforce system to prepare the workforce for you. And so that's our commitment. That's why we're doing it. This is why the LVGA, the Chambers of Commerce are behind this, because we know it needs to be led by business. But I also want you to know that we have applied as a region for a grant called the Good Jobs Challenge to the U.S. EDA, or Economic Development Administration. It's a $28 million submittal that we turned in that we hope to get to accelerate this work. There's also a $1 million grant that was awarded to us through the City of Las Vegas, through their American Recovery Plan funds they got to accelerate this initiative. So again, the purpose, if you will, the mayors, the county commissioners, they all understand that there is a need to really be listening to you. And so thank you for being here. We're going to start by asking you, can I have the next slide, please? These are, if you will, what we're going to be doing in our first session. We want to talk about your short, mid, and long-term needs and how we want to, and we're not going to assume, we have a feeling that these 7 sectors, there's going to be a lot of similarities in these things, but we didn't want to reveal it to you ahead of time. We'll let you know what the healthcare came up with, but we want you to come up with your own. So you have some Post-its in front of you. I would like you to start with that green color and write one by one. You can do as many pages as you want. Start by telling us what your short-term workforce or talent needs are, whatever they are. And then we're going to come and grab them from you, and we're going to, if there's need for clarity, we'll ask you that. Our goal here is to, again, kind of identify some trends. So we want to extract from you this information and then identify, is there some common needs? Because that's where we're going to make our investments. We believe that if we can solve the common needs, if we can capitalize on the opportunities for collective action, that's where the best return for our region will be. So again, your short-term needs. And again, an example would be, somebody said it, I need bodies now. Are they breathing? Do they have a pulse? Bring them in. And so we know that's short-term. But there's also others, what we'll talk about today. So, yes. I'm going to ask you to say that. And by the way, we're recording this for any employers who couldn't make it, and so that's why we want all the questions in the mic.
In the short term, are you looking for numbers of employees that you're looking at, plus the types of positions that are that we're looking for?
Yes,
okay.
I think that the number would be obviously different for everyone. So maybe we can generalize it by saying, you know, you're short 20% of where you want to be, 30% of where you want to be, and then yes, the occupations that you're looking for. Absolutely, thank you. So let's start to pick up George, Malik, if we have some. Let's get some of these stickies and bring them up here to the board. Remember, one per sheet. Yeah, and if you did it already, that's okay. Just put a star next to it. But if we can, one per sheet, so that we can separate them into clusters and make sure that we're grabbing trends. So I'm going to start to see over here. Make sure that we're understanding what you're talking about. Right now, we're talking about assembly labor. Those people must have attention to detail and basic building skills. We're talking about, again, employees. We're short about 20% of where we want to be. We need skilled workers that have interest in this manufacturing industry. Another issue short term is we need machine operators, forklift drivers. We're short about 10% of where we want to be. We need manufacturing maintenance technicians. We're short about 25%. By the end of May, so not too far from now, we need 30 to 40 people. That's huge. But again, you're not alone. More operators in manufacturing, supervisors, maintenance technicians. We do look for or are willing to look at unskilled and low-skilled direct labor. And this is cool. I want to talk a little bit more about this. Here's some head counts of what we need. Let me talk about this a little bit. So whoever wrote this short term, unskilled and low skilled direct labor, 30 positions, who are you? Oh, Tom, tell me more about that. Yeah, please.
Well, for us, we have to build our manufacturing base. You know, it's like a pyramid, and the base there is the low-skilled or unskilled work that we have to do on-the-job training for. Our industry is so unique, we're not just going to be able to go and solicit other industries and find these people, so we have to train internally. But with, you know, it's hard to run the equipment without the base labor, and that's really our biggest deficiency right now is, you know, we're going through a multi-million-dollar expansion. We're bringing in all this great equipment, but we can't find the people to staff the equipment that we're bringing in. Very soon we're going to kind of hit a point where we're going to stop doing capital until we can find the human capital to man this equipment that we're bringing in.
And I want to ask you a follow-up, because I've been to Tom's plant, and you have to try not to be distracted by the bars of silver and gold and the machine guns to protect it and all that stuff, but it's a really cool place. But Tom, what I hear here is that, you know, a lot of times we the community assumes that jobs in manufacturing have to be highly skilled. So yes, you want those too, but when we're building a pipeline, you need entry levels at all points. So you need our community colleges with certificates and our universities, but I'm hearing here, there's also entry points for the very unskilled, and you will do, another important thing I heard is you will do OJTs, which those of you who have not worked with the public workforce system yet, we have funds to do on-the-job training, and we will subsidize some of that training. So meaning if Tom says to us, there's two 18-year-olds who have no experience with my processes, I'm willing to do some employer training. There is no other classroom that teaches for this machine I have. We will sit down with Tom and create a plan where we cover a portion of those wages for the first 2 or 3 months, 50%, 75%, depending on what that skill is, because the employer is providing that training. So again, Tom, am I correct?
Oh, absolutely,
Okay.
yeah. Like I said, it's, for us, our workforce is a pyramid, and we've got, those direct labor jobs that we do on-the-job training for, and that seems to be our biggest hurdle right now, is filling those positions.
Can I ask you, would you go get that mic for the next one? Can I ask if anybody else is in that place with Tom where you share, there's opportunity for low unskilled entry into your businesses? Right here, yep.
Yeah, I mean, we've put out the same things that everyone else does as far as recruiting and trying to get skilled labor, but we've gone down to the fact that they're not out there, or they're just not here yet. So that's what we're doing. We're taking our lower entry level people and we're starting to train them up. Now there's two things to that, and that is, one, they have to have the interest in it, and two, they have to have the ability, right? And so we're finding we're lacking in both, and sometimes, where a guy really wants to be a welder, we get him in, we start training him, and then, my eyes hurt. It's not an easy job, and so then you get a guy that, we need machine operators, and he gets into that, and just this technology thing just isn't for me, So it's important that we're still going to want to try to bring in unskilled laborers as we can, just to try to see who we can get, but this is more important to try to get this skilled labor already up as fast as we can, or when we can. But getting to your point, that bottom level is really where we're struggling to fill that spot, to move them up.
Thank you, John. And I saw another hand up here. Was it you? Right here.
I think this topic's being pretty well covered right now. I mean, I think everyone's in the same mode where, for us, we are looking for more specialized, because we're in electronics manufacturing, so even at the direct entry levels, we have positions for like soldering, or be it a machinist. It's very difficult for us to do on-job training from the beginning on how to solder. So we do require some experience, but there's still on-job training there. But for a lot of other things like advanced, SMT machine operations and such, what we find is that's too niche a product or a job for most here locally. So there we try to find people that will bring in at an entry level, maybe in a mechanical department, see what their aptitude is, and then take the ones we feel can do the high-end jobs and train them and put them in a training program. And that's kind of what we've done with some of those positions.
We hear that. I'm hearing that a lot when I hear from you as employers. And again, I'm encouraged by this, your openness to bring in the low-skilled labor and skill them yourselves. That's a perfect solution for us, because again, we have mechanisms by which to fund and support that. And of course, we're always going to need the other steps as well, as skill acquisition at the community college and university and all that. So really happy to hear that. But again, thinking about this, and we're going to move to another one here in a second, but this is why CCSD is here. I just got done texting with the superintendent before we started, and whether it be Tristan, who is here today, Gia Moore, or Craig Brockett, who have been through these conversations, there is a strong commitment moving forward from the school district to incorporate your needs there. And again, this is why Tom and his team are here. They've done it in Idaho. There's a CTE coming to Henderson, Scott, for that campus around Haas. And so Haas was going to be here today, right? But they're not? What? Okay. Oh, so COVID's still getting us. So, but I think that's the long-term commitment from CCSD to make sure their schools, and not just CTE high schools, but middle schools, elementary schools have this kind of stuff. I'm kicking myself now because I did not bring it, but this blueprint that I mentioned to you earlier, which was just released, is going to have a children's version. Because, you know, handing this to a school-age kid is probably not productive, and so we have a cartoon-based, caricature-based version of this, which just highlights these occupations and a little bit of the labor market information. But again, I didn't bring the ones that we have. We don't have one for manufacturing. So one of the things we're hoping is if any of you or several of you are interested, we want to create a book, a booklet, an activity book. It has puzzles, it has coloring to put into the CCSD system. The teachers help us take these big words and translate them to words that are the level that kids need to understand manufacturing. So that's one of the promises we have for you out of this industry sector partnership, to come out with a book that not only is in the classrooms exposing young children and their families to these opportunities that you're talking about, but also for you to use any way you like. So I'll stop there with this subject. We're going to move to another one. But again, I want to set the tone that what we're doing, oh, this is the new one, I'm sorry. We're doing this because at the end of this day, we're going to ask you to give us your proposed solutions for these. Because again, the solution people are here in the room right now, very, very disciplined and being in listening mode, which I appreciate. But eventually, we're going to ask you, how do we solve this? How do we work with you at the school district level, at the community college, at the other universities, these other skill acquisition partners to solve your problem? So we're going to get there. And before we do, here in short term, I want to ask, and this is Ray from PureTech. So tell us a little bit more when you talk about a partnership. You would like a partnership between academia and the private sector companies. I want to hear about that a little more.
Sure, and this is being fresh out of Southern California, where for decades California is thought of as being the innovation hub for most new technologies, right? We believe that Nevada could be effectively the Silicon Beach or Silicon Desert of that, right? And so there's an example that we relied on when we were in Irvine before we moved here called University of California, Irvine has a campus called the Beal Campus. It was sponsored by Mr. Beal, and it was really designed to be a $30 million facility where tech companies can work with academia and students that are in undergrad or postgrad education to bring R&D efforts to private sector companies. And so what I think about in Nevada, I assume that my counterparts here can speak all day about manufacturing talent needs, probably better than we can. But the thing we see where there's a major gap in Vegas or in Clark County is in the area of R&D innovation. So we think that if we can get more facilities and more resources around being able to take new technologies to market in the development phase, it actually leads to more burgeoning deployment of new technologies, which also spurs manufacturing capabilities as well. So that's something we think that we like to invest in, but also see more of here locally.
So I'd love to hear that because, again, and the LVGA will be here a little later. I know that we have Ayla Young from Go in here in the room as well. We'll introduce her a little later as well. But it's important that our partners, not just in the region, but the state, hear this about what employers would like to see in the sense of R&D. Another one of our partners is, of course, UNLV and their small business, or SBDC, Economic Development Department. So Scott, I think that's the name, but Jamie Schwartz and her team, is that Economic Development UNLV? Okay, so I hear them talking about that a lot. They're hosting the next launch for information communication technology, but what you were talking about, how do we build these kinds of partnerships between you, the private sector, and the academic institutions to create what you were just talking about? So thank you for sharing that. So I'm going to rely here on my team to make sure you keep me on time because we want to have enough time to go to mid and long. Are we doing good on time? Where's George at? Yeah? Okay. So this one right here. Who wrote retention, turnover reduction for maintenance techs, tooled and die? All right. Ken.
So one of the things we really need to focus on, and it's the message I'm getting from employers across the nation, is that we're struggling with turnover and retention. So we need to come up with some new innovative ways to make sure people are engaged and want to get on some sort of a career path and stay long term. Because as employers, we invest a lot of time and money and resources into onboarding and training, and the individual also takes up their time to apply and interview and go through background checks. So we want to do something to make sure they're on board long-term on a career path. You know, we all need those entry-level people that want to learn and grow, but we're also looking for some skilled positions too. Some higher-level maintenance techs, some tool and die makers. And as we continue to build out, we'll have additional skilled positions that we need to fill.
We like that point you made about retention because our work is graded by the Department of Labor and retention as well, Tom, you know, and so we invest the taxpayer money to skill up a person, hopefully that, again, they will keep that job. We don't want that person, that investment, if you will, to not work out in the long term. So I really like that point. And to share with you, one of the things we're committed to, because there is, again, this short gap, by the way, I think you know this, it's not new. It's been coming for a while. The birth rates in our country have been continually diminishing. The retiring age and the group of people retiring continually increasing. Immigration rates are down. And so all these things were, of course, compounded by the pandemic, and the skill gap or the labor gap just has been and will continue to be an issue. And so let me share with you what we're doing in our system, in the pipeline, if you will. We have this new, I don't know if it's a new word, but it's, our strategy is alternate or alternative labor pools. And of course what that means is, you know, that most of the skilled workers are already working. And so cannibalizing each other, offering $1, $2, $3, $5 more a piece is only going to last so long until that person, you know, stays where they want. So we are really concentrating on, for example, populations like the reentry population. If you are friendly to, you know, second chances for individuals who have, you know, paid their debt and are ready for a new chance at life, we have programs to tap into that labor pool. Also, people with disabilities, if the jobs in your organization are something that lend themselves to people with disabilities, then that's another population. Our vets, of course, returning from service. But again, and those immigrants that do have the authorization to work in the U.S., those are the populations that we're trying really to maximize. They, as you know, usually don't compete well in economies where there's more jobs than workers. And so now, again, they're our focus. And the last one, again, back to the youth, is we have about, Tristan, how many high school seniors will be walking the stage in May? About 600 seniors?
Roughly averaging, you can have about 49 high schools at about 600 seniors.
Oh, you got to multiply that 5 times 6, so
right.
30,000 kids?
Give or take.
Wow. So think about that. 30,000 potential workers. What are we doing as a region to prepare them for your jobs? That's what this is about. And so again, I've told you already that the commitment from CCSD, that's why Tristan is here. So we want to hear from you. How do we do that? So should we move on to midterm? Okay. We're going to now, our staff throughout the day is going to start to, again, work these post notes to find the common theme so we can focus on the solutions in our second session. But for now, we're going to shift to midterm. So would you please write down problems that are not now, meaning we know you need bodies today, but we started to talk about retention and other things. 6 months from now, a year from now, what are your workforce needs? And then later, we're going to talk, of course, in the long term, how do we produce a pipeline that's working for you that's 2, 3, 4 years in the making, maybe even more, right? When we talk about this elementary school version of this workforce blueprint, that is a 10-year plan, because that child who's 5, 6, 7, 8 years old, 10 years from now will be 18. And so that's some of the long-term work to make sure that we're creating a talent pipeline for you. But in the midterm, please write down one per sheet. And let me see if I get a few of these and if we make sure we understand you. Oh, so this interests me because when I was on the Strip, one of my big jobs was automating the lighting, air conditioning systems on the casinos. And so tell me about what this means to you, Dean, at Aristocrat, more automation.
So automation for us really is kind of looking towards the factory of the future is what we're really calling it. We're moving our building, and today we do a lot of things manually. So how can we get more automation within the plant? And, you know, some of the jobs that we are having a hard time finding today, you know, can robotics do it? So do we need that water spider or person to move the material to the line, or can we have it done by robotics? And, you know, some of the higher skilled positions that we have in the plant, can they be done by, you know, more robotics? For our software burns, instead of having, you know, 20 people to be employed in there, can we cut that down to 10 with the use of some robotics? So just looking at how can we do that in our new plant.
And thank you, Dean. And so automation, you guys are more of an expert than I am on this, but I know that throughout the decades, you know, I read books about when Henry Ford established the first assembly line and what that meant for that workforce, what the information technology revolution meant. I mean, when I was a kid, I know when I wanted to talk to my girlfriend, the phone didn't uncouple from the wall. Remember that long cord that you walked around, and if you walked around and wrapped yourself, you were, right, that big old cord. So when this revolution came up, these cell phones, a lot of jobs changed. A lot of jobs in that old industry with build changed, but new jobs came along, right? So there's people now whose livelihood is tied to these new technologies. So I'm sure in your businesses as well, these machines, while they're going to do repetitive work that used to be done by a human, those machines will now need technicians to oversee them, program them, maintain them, and whatnot. So it's kind of an evolution of the workplace.
Yeah, exactly. Like I tell people, you know, we've had discussions around the plant of bringing in like robotics, and some of the frontline workers get scared about that thing. Well, I'm going to lose my job. Well, really, the robotics and automation really just creates different jobs. It doesn't replace any job. It just creates different jobs. So that's kind of how we have approached it. And if we have to skill that labor set up to be able to handle the maintenance of the robotics, it'll just create a new workforce and potentially higher earnings for them as well.
And so this narrative, Dean, is what we need to, again, as your partners, be able to share the correct narrative about the evolution of the workforce through automation and artificial intelligence, because, again, we want families and their kids to really understand the net effect of it, which is, it sounds like, yes, some jobs go away, some come in, and it's just the way it's been always. Again, not just this decade, but forever. And so we want to hear you and your narrative so we can do a better job. Tom, as you know, in Idaho, you guys, when you established that school, because it was based on the needs of business, the outcomes were so great. I can't remember the actual numbers, but they were all high. The completion rates, the placement into jobs, the retention, the earning. So Tom, share a couple of those with us, because I think that's the result of where we want to get to here in this region.
So what Jaime is referring to, when I was in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, there was myself and 5 other business leaders started an initiative to start a high school level technical trade school. Really just to working with the manufacturers and not even manufacturers. You know, we had courses for automotive repair. We had a nursing program, but a couple of manufacturing programs that evolved into robotics and things like that as it went on. But the first year that we had it, the school, and again, the numbers are, I think we had 150 students, but every year on year over the last decade, it's been virtually over 99% placement for these kids coming out of high school into highly skilled or semi-skilled jobs. I mean, the average starting wage, $24, $26 an hour. And it was so successful now that the community college has actually built a technical campus on the other side of the high school. So these kids can now take a 2-year high school program. They have to be it's only open to juniors and seniors in high school, and then they can move into a college level. So they come out of there now with full, I think it's ASW welding certification. I mean, very high level things. But it was driven by industry. It wasn't driven by the local school board. It was sponsored by industry, driven by industry, kind of established as a charter school, and has been tremendously successful helping the needs up there. Like literally every student that comes out of that welding program is hired by Caterpillar. You know, every student that's coming out there, there's the Caterpillar and the diesel mechanics as well too. They're already pre-screening them at the high school level just to make sure these kids know there's a good job available for them as they finish their education.
Thank you, Tom. And again, that's our goal, right? I know right now for us, when we hear that, we know it's not going to happen overnight, but that's where we're pointing, and that's where we need all of you. We're grateful for Tom's leadership. Again, not only do we have CCSD here, but CSN is here. Michael Wave, we're going to introduce you a little later. But we're going to hear about CSN's commitment also to these kinds of initiatives. Today, after the meeting, there's an optional tour if you want to see what's happening already. Again, whether it be Dr. Zaragoza, the president of CSN, or as we talked about before, the superintendent of the school district, Dr. Jara, they are members of the Workforce Connections board. And why are they members? Because again, they're the first ones, by the way. There wasn't a superintendent or a community college president that did it before. They really both of them come from places that understand this is the way. We need regional collaboration to serve you, to meet your needs. And so, again, Tom, that's where we're going. We had dinner with the superintendent, with both of them, almost 2 months ago now. A lot of things happened the next day of that dinner, and thank God we're kind of back on track. But let me ask who wrote this, getting the word out through visits, elementary, high schools, and higher education. Can I ask who that is? Oh, over here. So, John, where's the... Tell us a little bit more about that, John.
Yeah, so the way I feel about what's going on with manufacturing in Nevada, or southern Nevada anyway, from my experience, is that we're not a manufacturing town by nature. You know, we're trying to get there, and doing this is kind of an old saying is, you know, when's the best time to plant an oak tree? It's 30 years ago. The next best time to plant an oak tree is today, right? And so that's what we've got to start doing, and the kids are our trees, right? They're the ones that we've got to get in the younger age, at least get them interested or know that something's out there. And you know, I know an elementary kid in 3rd and 4th grade is not really going to understand a lot of this, but we can take the products that we make and say, hey, look at this is what's made here, and just kind of gear it to their level of what they could understand. And then, yeah, as we go to the junior highs, we go to the high schools, and we go to the higher education, we can expose them to more, you know, in depth of what is being done. And I just feel like even with the school district with a second language, I just really feel like we should be teaching kids a second language in 3rd and 4th and 5th grade, not in high school and junior high, because by the time they're already impressionable, they don't really want to learn, or they're doing it because they have to, where a younger kid will just be a sponge and take it on. On the flip side of all the education that we have to do, because manufacturing is still relatively new here in southern Nevada, and he was talking about how CAT, you know, is hires out, you know, right out of the thing. You guys are 10, 15 years ahead of where we're at today, right? And so we don't have $25, $30 an hour jobs right out of school. So it's important, I think, for the educators to inform the students that, listen, this is going to be a good job. It can be a good job, but it'll take time to get you where you need to be. Where we've had guys come in or students come in and say, you know, well, I was told at school I can make $25 an hour. Yeah, but you've never done this before. You've done it in school, but you've never done it in a business sense. And yeah, but if I'm not going to make $25 an hour, it's really not worth my time. I've already been educated. If the educators can let them know, like, look, you're not going to come out of the box making that, but you can eventually get there. And we do have those jobs that are at $30, $35 an hour for the welders, the machinists, the machine operators, the guys who maintain this stuff, but not out of the gate. You know, you're not going to get there, and that's where it's got to be an understanding that we're doing this, but also don't inform them how they're going to make $200,000 a year out of school, because that's not going to happen, you know. And so I just don't want a false sense of security for them, thinking that, well, I'm doing this because I'm going to make X amount of dollars, and my trajectory is going way faster, you know, than it should. So. Point well taken, John. So I think I've heard the correct narrative is important. I've heard it twice already. So Malik, Robbie, if you're there, take a note, because let me share with you that one of the things we're doing now with the school district is we started something we call the Workforce Fellowship. Last year, we said there's 50 high schools. Let's start with 5 of the career counselors from that high school. And what we're trying to do is, again, make sure that they are sharing the right narrative, that the only opportunities are not just a 4-year program or a 7-year path through a master's and a doctorate, but also these short-term credentialing, the jobs in manufacturing that again can turn into, you don't have to stay
at that level. As you said, you can continue to grow in the manufacturing field by adding credentials or degrees or skill acquisition. And so that narrative is important. And so know that we are working with CCSD already. We are now in our second cohort of workforce fellows, so that brings the number up to 11. We hope to double that next year, which will be 20, and if we double that the next year, we'll get closer to that goal of 50. And so, but that, Malik, Ravi, who take notes, I think it's really important for us to make sure that in the schools, we are sharing the correct narrative. And this industry sector partnership will be where we get it, where we hear that and make sure that it's, as you said, balanced, it's not raising false hopes, or just, we want to be clear that yes, you can make that, but there's steps. There's steps to get there. So thank you for that. I have another one that I want some more elaboration on. It's just called culture. Who wrote culture? It's really important. Yeah, so please share with us what you mean by how culture is a mid-term challenge.
Yeah, I think for us at Evanest Inc. and just all over, culture right now, you were talking about the younger generation as they're coming up. How do we make it fun for them, right? How do we make that environment different? Because typically right now in the manufacturing industry, especially, I've been in Vegas for almost 30 years now, and it's how do you change that mentality, right? Working straight 10-hour shifts or working 12-hour rotating shifts. How do we change that culture to make it inviting to the younger generation? Because right now, my son's graduating this year, and he's seen me grow up to the manufacturing realm, and he doesn't want to get into that, right? He's like, well, you work a lot of hours, we never see you. But how can we change that culture, right? And I think that's what I was trying to get at there. And as a manufacturing, I understand it's business needs, but what can we do for the new up and coming? And then just not that, just the retention part of it, right? For our people who are there right now, how can we change that culture for them? Because we don't want them to leave.
I love that, Alex, and I'm going to pick now on somebody who have also toured their plant. So if you want me to talk about your plant, invite me. I'll go there. But I went to this one, Nectar Bath Treats. Jason, Tom walked me around, and you guys have a very interesting culture. So if you could paint the picture for your peers here, what you guys do at Nectar to create a special culture.
Wow, that's a really big topic. We're going to try and do in 2 or 3 minutes. I don't think you ever chase culture. Culture is built from within. Culture is the group of people you have at any point in time. For us, culture is not about the job. It's not about how you try and make the job look good. We have pillars in the company. So if we have pillars of sustainability, we have pillars of how we treat people, how we are happy. We always think of people first. It's still a manufacturing plant, still have to make money, but as coming from Lush Cosmetics, which is a big culture company, you don't lose it with size. You lose it when you drop your hiring ethics and you start only being concerned about the growth, and then all those rules that the owner had originally and the way they created the company all get kind of dropped as they just keep chasing growth. You have to keep those ethics buried in the company and never lower your standards for hiring. Another big part of culture is we promote from within. So I go to great length to develop people. I rarely hire from the outside. And I hate to say that because sometimes it doesn't sound very good, but I really always try and promote people. So you walked around our factory, all the supervisors, senior supervisors, R&D people, they're all people that started somewhere in the company a few years ago, but then we really took an interest in their development as people. I talk to them every day about what they want to do with their life. If they want to do something other than here, I'm going to help them get there. I don't care if it costs us to have them leave after we train them. But so culture is kind of it's a tough one, and if I'm going to write a book on it someday, but I don't even think I can put my finger on it right now.
All right, thank you, Jason, for sharing. Because I struggle with it too. I only have an organization that's 25 deep, but we're trying to see. We're one of those old dinosaurs, an old government job that still has the pension, and people of today, like kids, don't know what pensions are. I think probably most of us do here. But we've had, Irene, how many, 3 or 4 young people walk away from our organization, and you want to say, well, what, 30 years from now you could retire at 50, and they don't see that. And so I think, again, we're trying to, how do we become a better culture for those employees that we want to have, the young, new talent. And so, there's all kinds of ideas, buy ping pong tables or naps, beds for naps and stuff. But I love how when I went to your place, I saw 18-year-olds working next to 50, 60-year-olds of all genders and ethnicities, and it was really cool to see how they were all very different, but at the same, all very happy to be doing what they were doing. Now, how can you not be when they're making like really cool stuff, right? They were making this stuff that looks edible almost, but it's not. It's soaps and stuff. So thank you for being here, Jason. I have another one that I wanted to ask. So who wrote down for midterm leads and supervisors? Who is that? Yeah, tell us about that, Ken. What do you mean by leads and supervisors? And George, how are we doing on time? Okay, thank you.
So as we build our teams out, we're, like Jason was saying over here, we want to promote from within. And we're going to have needs for team leads, supervisors, group leads, and we need to establish those people and identify their skills and abilities to run a team, to lead a group of people, because that's the hardest part of any job, to manage your people. And we want to instill those skills into people and identify them and promote from within.
I'm hearing, thank you, Ken. So for my team, Robbie, Malik, and everybody, I'm hearing a theme about how do we help these employers by using our assets and our resources to upskill from within, right? So they're not bringing a new person in that they can do an OJT with or get a hiring incentive for, which we have a lot of that now. But it's just more, again, midterm or long term. How do we help them take the people that perhaps they hired a year ago and then upskill them, right? Well, how do we have to reframe our programs? Can we do an OJT that is no longer justified by a hire, but instead by a promotion, a new title, a wage gain, right? So we need to look inside so that we can say to them, we have tools to help you do that. And so again, that conversation comes a little later, but I'm planting the seeds for you because we're going to ask you, how do we help you do that, Ken? Do we have the resources, the CCSD, or who has the resources to help you exactly that? So one more, Jake, you want to pick one?
Yeah, I think maybe the other area where we have multiple responses is automation. A couple people wrote that. So did anybody who wrote automation want to elaborate a little bit on what they meant by that?
I know Dean was the first one, but I didn't write it because that was my long-term. Yeah, please. And by the way, I'm keeping count on who's not talking, so I'm going to come back to you if you aren't. So,
I mean, automation for us, we're a lot smaller than most of you guys here, but when we think of automation, I'm thinking of tasks and process that have a lot of potential for injuries or losing limbs or throwing somebody's back out, that we're looking at solutions now that we could implement to minimize those things that are happening. Like we use a lot of table saws, we lift a lot of heavy items onto our CNC bed that need two people. How can I eliminate two people but also not throw somebody's back out or, destroy their physical limitations? And that's one of the important things that we see from automation is finding a machine that can take away the human injury or loss of limbs, just from a cost standpoint, but also a living situation. Because I'll go into some shops and there's people that are missing fingers and stuff that I'm like, okay, how do I make sure that doesn't happen with my employee base?
I hear that a lot also I've heard that from some companies or that are looking at that, what is that called, exskeleton, or that robotic looking thing that makes the human body be able to carry more things because of the skeleton. And that's really cool because I remember one of my first jobs, they teach you how to lift, right? But one day, hopefully, we'll minimize those risk injuries as well with automation. So I'm hearing, again, some themes here, and our team will, again, while you do your lunch, our working lunch, they're going to really skim through this and identify the top 1, 2, 3 common themes. Yes, absolutely. Jump in anytime.
Yeah, if I can jump on the automation because Dean touched on it, and so did the gentleman across the room there. But I think Dean was referring to what automation in manufacturing, especially in electronics and mechanical operation, is called Industry 4.0. That's the buzzword that goes around, and Dean's probably familiar with that. So again, that's where automation is going, and what that does. Obviously, there's going to be some loss of jobs, obviously, especially if you're doing a new facility, because now something that may require 20 people can be done with maybe 3 or 4. So it's not like we're remove existing jobs for existing processes, but for future down the road, yes, we're trying to be more optimized and more return of investment in terms of what we're trying to do. One of the challenges that comes with automation is when you need more specialized operators, and even at the lower level, you need people with better computer skills. Because even with automation, even right now, if you're doing any kind of manufacturing, you're using advanced ERP systems or any MRP systems that you're using, or MEP systems that you may use. You have lower level people that do have to interface with those systems to keep everything tracking along. And that's another challenge that we see a lot, because you may get skilled labor, but they have very little computer skills. And right now, if you don't have computer skills, it's extremely difficult to do even the base entry-level jobs right now.
And you just touched again until that point where are we doing what we need to do in high school or before that to make sure that some of the graduates that are going to come work for you have those skills, right? I think that's the longer term we're going to get to. But I lived what you said in the hotels in the late 80s when we went from pneumatic controls to direct digital controls, or DDC, and we started to bring in automation things, and so the people that were doing manual checks had to learn how to do all the digital work. And so our workforce shifted in the casinos the late 80s, early 90s. So, okay, does anybody have any? I think that's time. Yeah, we any final thought on midterm before we jump to the big one, which is long term? Yes, Ray.
I know there's a lot of focus on the actual manufacturing engineering needs as well, but one thing that we face is also facility engineer limitations. Folks that can actually help with building architecture and design. We're in the process of building a new facility now and speccing that out, and we find that there are 2 times a year where it's hard to get lower skilled, lower wage workers, and that's typically between August and October, and then December and January. And that's because the climates are just really extreme here. And so we've been very limited in finding facilities that can accommodate workers comfortably that don't have swamp coolers and other sort of things in place. I don't know if anyone else is dealing with that issue now, but so we think that there's also an unspoken of need around facility engineering where we can get folks that can design better buildings for us to work in, given that we're not sitting in the most moderate climate in the country.
I love that.
Right? It's not all logistics.
It's not all logistics.
No.
Yeah, everything's built for logistics here for the most part.
Yeah, I was in. We talked about air conditioning in your plant. Yeah, Tom has something there, Jason.
Yeah, that's been one of our biggest infrastructure issues that we've had to tackle, and obviously any of us that pay attention, OSHA's recently changed the regulations, for worker protection from extreme heat. So that's something. I mean, last year we had to shut down 2 or 3 times. Temperatures in the factory were exceeding 100 degrees. I know, speaking with Saeed at Vedatech, you guys are going through massive AC upgrades in your new facility. Just to tackle that. And we're doing the same. I just got an email that our new air handling system just showed up this morning. I mean, between a new roof, the air conditioning units, and air handling system in the plant is probably almost a $2 million investment just to try to maintain a workable temperature, just to make it comfortable. Because, even just a couple of weeks ago when it got hot here, Jason said 2 or 3 people, they just left. They can't handle the heat. And yeah, and so that's, we're having to tackle that by creating a not just a nice place to work, but a comfortable place that they can do their job without getting stressed from the heat, and that is a huge issue here in Nevada.
Environmentally too, right? I mean, you look at the winds we've had, trying to keep these buildings from collecting 2 inches of sand right in them. Yeah, and I think that we're all kind of facing the same thing, and we've talked a lot about OSHA and other compliance type things, and I think, at the early ages, as they're learning automation or other skill sets, it's also teaching them that it's okay to work with the OSHAs and what some of those standards are and what, permitting's like at the city level. I can tell you I came from California, like probably a lot of people here did back in the day. And, you avoided those conversations. You avoided the EPA. You avoided all these government agencies because all they wanted to do is shut you down or fine you or do something like that. It's not like that here, and it hasn't been. My experience has been, the first 6 or 7 years, it was a lot of construction-related thinking. And now we need to convert that more and more into the kind of manufacturing thinking in other industries as well when it comes to those safety and process-related items. But we embrace OSHA to come in and train our leadership and our team. We embrace the city to come in and work us through. What are we doing right? What are we doing wrong? It's a partnership as opposed to, oh God, are they here again? You know, I'm not feeling well today kind of a thing. And I think it's important that it's educated as we teach these children coming through that it's good to work with these entities. In today's world, you know, you're either right wing or left wing, and you're either fully against things or you're fully supportive of it. We kind of need to be in the middle of the road and have kind of everyone to be able to think on their own in a lot of ways. And I think a lot of what we're talking about is training people to think, training people to have buy-in, whether it's culture, whether it's retention, whatever it is. We need long-term longevity, right? And whether it's our company or they move to your company, we want qualified people who are bought into what we're doing. And right now the buy-in is gone. I mean, people are just jumping all over the place, whether it was COVID and so forth. It's just, I feel like we've lost a human being in people. And that's all part of that, right? I ran printing presses when I was in high school, and I learned equipment and how things worked, and I was bought into what I was doing, and I was excited about going to the next level, getting college education, but also using my hands no matter what I was doing. So I think that we don't have people excited about things right now at that level, and we need the parents to support this as well. It's one thing we haven't talked about so far is just the parenting and how they need to be bought into what we're talking about and doing as well. So.
I love that you said that, because Malik, Robbie, if we can capture again, I keep hearing that how we share the narrative is important for these industries with the potential future workers, the kids and their families. I'll share another thing we're doing with CCSD that, again, we're really proud of. They're going to build 3 CTEs in the near future. One's being built on the old site of the Bishop Gorman on Maryland Parkway, if you guys know that site. The next one in Henderson, another one in North Las Vegas. And again, everything you're talking about here, we want to catch it in there. And how those schools are the very first in the nation that will have a one-stop center or an American Job Center. Those are our centers on site. What do we do there? Again, provide those kids and their families with this information and with the resources to prepare them for your jobs. And so again, I think as I keep hearing from you, it's important in this narrative that's being shared in these pipelines to say, you know, be very, get down to the detail that these jobs, not only are they good paying and sustainable, but you have to work within OSHA regulations, and let's make that narrative friendly. Let's keep people excited about, let's learn how to share all of the details in a positive way instead of, like you say, being, oh, that's OSHA. And instead it keeps you safe or it makes you more productive, right? The narrative. Jake?
That's it. I was just saying, yeah, fear can damage a lot of...
Fear. So, okay, we got you. So let's...
Fear, no matter what it means, it just can damage progress no matter what you're trying to progress with.
Okay. My staff, the team is telling me move along, so I'm going to move along now. We're doing our final category. Then we're going to break for a working lunch where we do for more formal introductions from our partners who are in the back here. But let's get to the finish line on your challenges. So I'm going to ask you to use your red pieces of paper now, one per paper. Write down your long-term needs. And again, for us, you know, long-term means how do I connect to those K through 5 kids to get them excited, to get their parents excited, to create, again, programs where you as employers have a voice in the schools. I mean, that's always been a vision to say, how do we have Sunshine Minting, represented in the school? When every hockey game I go to, I see Sunshine Minting on the helmets, on the Tom, when they play the national anthem, you guys are up there. What is that called? The anthems? Yeah. So how do we do that, increase your exposure even at a deeper level when we're creating our workforce pipeline for all of you, right? And so that's why we're here. We want to hear that and then come to those solutions. And again, work with our partners at CCSD, CSN, UNLV, University of Phoenix. I always forget some, Nevada State College, WGU, Roseman, all of our partners, right, that play a role in creating the workforce. So we're getting some now. Let's see. This one right here. Okay. I need some more info on this because it says co-op programs with CCSD and CSN and parentheses apprenticeships. Whose is that? All right, Chad. I want to hear more about that.
So we've kind of partnered with Tristan. We actually have an event this afternoon where our part of our manufacturing team and management is going to be attending a kind of an introduction to manufacturing at one of the high schools in North Las Vegas. I think, I think it's beneficial to not only to give them an opportunity to earn money as they're learning. So, back in the day, I'm going to talk about my age here, but it was called co-op when I was in school, where you went to school half the day and you attended a job the second half. I think that will help us bring in more, attract more people that want to work, want to learn, and want to learn a trade. I think that's part of what's missing is learning a trade no longer exists. It's just whoever's going to throw you the most money right now. So not everybody's built that way, and I think getting back to learning trades is going to help us in the industry bring people in, retain people, and to their point, work them through the system to where they work into management roles. So we have been successful once with this already. Working with CSN, we brought one of our maintenance techs in through that program. She's still there after 2 years. So I think getting down to the high school level is going to help us more. It's going to give the kids an opportunity to earn money, and it's going to give us an opportunity to, test drive them. Hey, do you have the work ethic? Do you have what it takes to be a machine operator? So that's kind of where I was going with that.
Thank you for that clarity. Yeah, I didn't understand the word co-op. Now I do. I want to give Rick and John fair warning that I'm coming for them if I don't hear from them soon, Jake. Everybody else, I think, has jumped in. But I think I want to, later in the solutions piece, I want to hear from either Robbie or Malik. Are you guys involved in the event that's happening later today with CCSD, the manufacturing? So let's later in the solutions piece see how we can tie that as a very brand new initiative to what we're hearing about. So, and you're involved as well, what I'm hearing. Okay, I want to hear more details about the actual implementation later. So another one that I want to hear more about is, what does it mean in the long-term challenge when you say diversity of industry? Who is that? Diversity of industry. So Dean, tell us what that means to you.
I think with manufacturing, right, you can kind of tell by this table here, we got 15 males sitting here, right? And most of us being white males, right? So like, how do we get some female leaders or some female workforce in here to have a diversity of thought throughout the industry, right? So make manufacturing cool, if you will, to that sector.
Okay, that's what I thought it meant. So again, and I saw it. Tom, you too. When I mentioned, I said I see some really young people, and then some, really colors. I saw everything. So I'm hearing you say, and in my organization, we do the same thing. We try to how do we make sure that every voice is representative, not just the gender, but the ethnicity and backgrounds, age, all these different things. Irene and I were yesterday, I think it was the day before, with Guy Martin, another member of the Workforce Connections Board. His dad founded Martin Harris, the big construction company, and we went to his building, and again, to talk about culture, they built that from the ground up, much like Ahern built his. Where's my Ahern folks? Right here, yeah. So, when I hear Don and the story of his dad, I really admire, as an immigrant coming here and having lived, the corporate life, and now here in public service or in government, I really admire the job creators, that start companies and provide livelihood for others. And so this is why I think we are really committed to make sure that businesses who are the job creators are driving this conversation. And so again, I know you'll hear more from Ayla a little later, but this is more than just our region. I know that our state, our governor, and the Governor's Workforce Development Board is also in that place to make sure that what we do in the next few years is to really meet your needs, and not what we think they are, but what you say they are. So again, thank you for those voices today. So I want to hear a little bit about this. What does it mean, demo days? That's you, right? Where's the mic?
I got it here.
Oh, okay.
Great. So Tom has a saying that I love, which is that manufacturing is not a second-class job. Just by show of hands, if you have a Siri, an Alexa, a Google Nest, or a Sonos speaker at home, can you please raise your hand? Okay, it's almost the entire room, about half the room here. There are going to be about 27 billion IoT devices on the planet in about 2 years. That's 3 devices that are capturing data for every one human being on the planet. Demo days really is a concept that's borrowed from Y Combinator, where we've got at CCSD 374 buildings that house about 338,000 students. It's a lot of real estate. The concept of that is very simple. It's taking those auditoriums and those buildings and activating demo days where companies like ours and other innovative companies can get on the inside of the buildings and in front of students and show the latest and greatest in these technologies. And I think that what that creates is an excitement at the student level where they're experiential. They want to get their hands on things, they want to see cool technologies, and they want to feel a part of that. That would spur what we think is an appetite for students to maybe move into things like engineering and mathematics and STEM programs where they could see the direct correlation between their education and being able to work on things like Alexa speakers and cool technology. So demo day is something that we haven't seen done here yet, but we'd be happy to be part of kind of constructing what that would be on campus.
I absolutely love that. Wow. So again, you can see we're starting to touch into the solution, which will be our second session. But I absolutely love that idea. Anybody want to comment on that before I move to this next one, demo days? Maybe a poll. Who would like to be a part of demo days as we've been heard it as companies? Awesome. Okay. Did I see your hand go up, John?
Yeah, I wanted to add something.
Please.
I think one of the things that we talked about a little bit, we talked about culture, but we also got to break the paradigm too that manufacturing is dirty. I know it can be hot, but it's not dirty, it's not unsafe, and it's very productive for the local community and the broader sense of like the entire country. We might be manufacturing something here that shows up in Maine or internationally as well. So that culture that is really manufacturing, if we can show that outside, a demo day is cool, but maybe not so much for juice. Is also on the other side, we work with the school district we have in the past about bringing kids in and doing tours and showing the plant. What does it look like? What does high-speed manufacturing look like? And getting them interested in this, and how does their education tie, with the math and science to the actual, the work that they do every single day. It's not a dead end. You're right. It does take money, and it does take time. Your first job isn't going to be $25 an hour, but $25 an hour is quickly attainable. A forklift driver can be a maintenance manager. A filler operator could be a project engineer. There is no boundary there if the guys have the culture or the girls have the culture when they come in, or that go-get-'em attitude.
Thank you, John. That's really important, I think, because you're right. And back to this thing about the narrative, a lot of people think about manufacturing as this place you walk in, you have leaky hydraulic machines and big prints going pa, pa, pa. And I walked this place, to your guys' place, my God, it was like Disneyland. Everything was shiny and beautiful. And again, I keep pulling it out. You guys are going to get one of these amazing things that Tom and his team made. But again, it's not dirty, and it's safe. And there's high-tech equipment everywhere, lasers and polishers. It's just, I loved it. And so I think, again, we have to do a better job early enough restoring, if you will, the nobility of the industry and of the trades within the industry. That's a word Guy Martin always uses. That's why I'm copying it. He said the nobility of the trades was lost at some point. He told me there was a time in this country where the guys connecting the gas lamps and the first electrical things in towns were like heroes. They were like more popular than doctors. And then somewhere that changed. And so I think that's I keep hearing this. So Malik, Ravi, let's make sure we capture that when we're talking with in our solution. So the last one I'll do, or maybe I don't know if you guys, Vicente, Jake, have another one, but I want to hear more in the long term about effective recruiting. Who was that? Yes, Jason. Tell us more about what you mean by that.
I've heard it here already that, Las Vegas is not really a manufacturing town. I get that. We all kind of know that. But it is difficult to build manufacturing here when, the equipment you buy doesn't come from here, and you don't have enough industry that you have enough of a general labor force that you can pull from, right? So a year and a half ago, we had 80 people. We have 250 now. Over the next year, we'll probably add another 150 people. That jump gets bigger every time, and we have to get more and more creative with recruiting. So that's part of that is just, the usual channels become stale after a while, and it's just, they're not effective, right? And they might be good for pulling in a couple people a month, but so we have to find ways of recruiting better. I hope with more industry, that becomes a lot easier because there's more manufacturing people here. And I can hire a chef in this town probably quite easily, but manufacturing people not so much. Second part of this to me is, it's kind of almost a challenge too. It's look where you don't normally look for these things. Like you introduced this to Cindy at Lighthouse. So we started Lighthouse Manufacturing 2 days ago, so we're making products at their charity. We have people in our factory now that worked for them that kind of graduated into our area. I don't know if you met Shakiba or not. Shakiba is the first Lighthouse person that worked in our factory. She came from the Lighthouse charity. She was a journalist and a teacher in Afghanistan. She was shot in the face by the Taliban. You can see it when her reconstructed. She was left for dead. And we are lucky now to have her. She made it all the way over here, survived. And, so there are places like these charities where you can find really good people. Right now, as I sit here right now, we're trying to fast track Ukrainian refugees. Okay. So these are doctors, these are lawyers, these are people I had to pick up really quickly, leave the guys behind, and they're sitting down there just waiting for our help. So look where you don't normally look too.
That's a great point, Jason. Thank you for saying that. So if you, Tom and Jason Nectar called us or met us and said, yes, we need people like everybody else, but we're willing to look into these buckets. And he just talked about this immigration bucket, so people with the full authorization to work in the U.S., sometimes refugees, sometimes, as he said, very skilled workers. And so we're grateful that you guys are doing that. And if any of you, again, want to work closer with us on any kind of those buckets that we mentioned before, these alternate labor pools, let us know. Again, there is money allocated to upskill those people to match your needs. So we'll talk about that again more in the solutions. But let me give you an example that you'll hear hopefully later when she gets here. Tina's not here. Yeah? So Tina Quigley from the LVGA talks about a bucket. And somebody said about how if we're importing products we don't make here, that's not helping our economy, but you're making products that the rest of the nation or the rest of the world is buying. Again, when I walk Tom's plant, this currency for that country and that, I'm like, oh my God, Nevada is really, we're bringing in this money. At Nectar, I walked away with a beautiful bag of bomb soaps and fizzy things, and I think, and I saw they have a screen that has the world, and it shows where the orders are coming from. And so I visualized how you guys, why it's so important, why you as a manufacturing industry is so important to us, Isla, here as a region, as a state. So count us in as your, again, advocates, and hopefully you see our commitment for this long-term work we had ahead of us. So I'll do one last one, which is, it says, this is a long-term challenge, and it has to do with an 85% retention rate, community involvement, continued investment on the long-term training and promotable skills, and the quick ramp up down. You must have ran out of paper because I said one per paper, but you wrote 4. So who are you? Where are you? Okay, Jason, can you?
I think for me it's just kind of more of the same of what we've already been talking about, and continuing short, mid, long term, and it's all the entry level stuff, it's all the early education stuff, but it's also continuing to invest in your team as they grow. Whether you get into middle management, supervision, middle management, and go up the chain, you get less and less attention on building your skills, right? And your skills have to continue to develop so that you can develop others. And I think it's just that continued development through the whole organization, all the way, to the CEO of the company, that we're constantly reminding ourselves that we have to invest in everyone and doing those team-type environment things and getting retention. I can tell you our company, we did very well here in the state of Nevada retention-wise until the last couple of years. It's been very challenging, whereas our Idaho operation, retention's always been very challenging for different reasons, completely different cultures and so forth, different demographics. and just really keeping focused on that. Because that turnover is the biggest challenge you face, whether it's, repeatability, whether you're working with automation or fully manual processes, trying to invest in that and retain that is just so critical. And our metric is 85% retention, long term. We're not going to get that short term right now, and trying to understand why we're getting there. But I think it's a continued progress, right? It's not you do one thing and then, okay, you take your foot off the throttle. You just constantly have to keep working on that. And it's hard. It's very hard. I know Ken and myself and Tom as well, we trying to find enough time in a day to continue to build that, and it takes a team. Well, if you can't spend the time on the team, right, you're never going to get to the next level, and it's been a challenge for us.
Thank you for sharing that, Jason, because I don't know if you're hearing it, but I'm starting to hear, again, a theme emerge about, in our world, we call it the incumbent workforce, and this government, overcomplicated terminology stuff, we call it the incumbent, but it's your team, it's your people that you're trying to upskill and promote. I've heard it now several times, promoting within. And so, Isla, our system is not built necessarily with a strong focus on incumbent training. It's built on, of course, hiring, placing people and training them. There is a component, but it's always limited, incumbent. And so I think that's something that hopefully today in the solutions comes so we can move it up to the Governor's Workforce Development Board or even our Congress delegation in D.C. if that's what's needed. But I'm hearing a lot about investment into the existing workforce because that's going to lead to better wages, sustainability, retention, longevity.
Yeah,
so
reinvestment.
Yeah, I'm hearing that.
Ways, yeah.
Okay, so we just have a few minutes before 12:30. We want to stay on track because we respect your time. We want you to be able to finish on time, take the tour. We still have our second session, which is the most important. So this was our first session. And again, while we do a working lunch, our team is going to go through that, crunch through this exercise, and identify the common themes that we can focus on the next one. Can I have the next slide, please? Because I forgot what the agenda is. Okay, these guys, again, have been really diligent. You haven't heard from them. They're in the back. But we want you to know they are key to the solution, right? So we're going to start introducing them during lunch, but they're here. We know Tristan is here from CCSD representing his team. Who's here from Michael is here from CSN, and Dan representing that team. We have Tom from Nevada State College. We have Lori from University of Phoenix. I saw her. There you are, Lori. We have PBS. Where are you? There you are. PBS is here. Also Mary from Nevada Industry Excellence. I saw her. Yep, right there. And UNLV. Where are you, UNLV? Oh, hi. I haven't met you, but thank you for being here. And so we're going to hear from them here in just a second. I just wanted you, again, to highlight that we're trying to be very disciplined about this model. It's paid huge dividends in other regions, focusing and making sure, again, that you're driving the conversation and not us. So next slide, please. All right, so is the lunch sponsor here or not yet? Sonia? Is Matt here? Not yet. Yes. He is? Okay. So just, so before, because I thought I had 5 minutes, before I turn it over to the lunch sponsor, we have 5 minutes. I would love to hear from any of you, and I'm looking at you, Rick, because okay, let's get Rick the mic, because I'm going to ask him, so far, Rick, what common themes are you hearing? Again, you're going to see us go through the exercise, but what have you heard so far about in the sense of workforce needs for your industry?
Yeah, I'm hearing a lot of retention, and I think the gentleman here put it best. My sticky was put some skin in the game, and it could run short term, it could run mid term, it could run long term.
Tell me more about that skin in the game.
Well, getting individuals who want to work the overtime comes 2:30. They start at 6 in the morning. But our assembly techs, when they're done at 2:30, it's a traffic jam out our exit, and getting them to work and want to buy into what they're doing, looking at a finished product. When you look at this $70,000 more, $105,000 boom, and it was built right there. How do you take some pride in that? How do I get them to be more like Toyota? The Japanese workers, they take pride in putting a vehicle together, and I would love to do something similar, with our folks. I think it would benefit all of manufacturing.
Rick, that's a pretty deep topic. I'm glad you said it because, you know, it touches again in this culture, but it's not just about one company, it's about an industry. And again, I'm grateful for Tom because I'm going to do it one more time. This is a way for, I'm already taking huge pride in this. I'm not sure if they don't steal mine. You're going to get your own. But this is, to me, Tom, a way to instill pride in what we're doing. This commemorative silver bar that you created and that you're going to share here with all the other employers. Because, again, we want a year, well, even before, 6 months from now, for you to see progress, to see some branches started to grow on that oak tree. 2, 3, 5 years from now, we want to see more solutions and actions on what we're starting today. Again, remember, today is just a start. It's not a one-time event. It's just our starting point on this dialogue to identify the things that we can help you with. But you bring up such an important thing. How do we do things that will instill pride in what we're doing, right? And again, it ties back to the narrative. Anybody have thoughts on that? How do we start to do that? I've heard it a little bit about culture and whatnot, but yes, Ray.
I think, Rick, you raised a great point there, and there's an economic way to do it. And I'm going to borrow from the tech industry here, but it could work in manufacturing. We've created an employee stock option or stock ownership plan, right? And what that's done for, we're a smaller company, so not every company can afford to do that. But what we're finding is that talent that are coming out of undergrad or even out of high school now are watching Shark Tank, and they're looking at that and saying, I could be an entrepreneur or not be an employee. So this concept of employee is changing. Everyone coming into our company is coming with this employeepreneur mindset where they want to feel like they're a business within a business or part owner in that thing. And so there's cultural ways to do it, but we've also sort of put our money where our mouths is and said for the high performers, you can't do it for everyone, but for those that come in that demonstrate talent and capabilities that are effective or highly effective, they participate in stock ownership, right? And we've created a pool of that to help retain those high performers from going to other places where we otherwise would lose them based on base salary or cash compensation. So something we found that's been working for us.
That's really good. Thank you for sharing, Ray. Anybody else? Yes, John.
One of the things I started doing about 6 months ago is taking employees that don't really see the end result of what we do out to show them. Now, they know what they're making, and they make what they make, and then it goes on, and they come back to work the next day, and then they go home. But I've actually taken tours of guys, taking them to, or women to the casinos and shown them, here's where here's where it ends up. Here's what it looks like at the end. Even though they kind of know that, it's important for them to see that part. But we are in a campus facility, so we have 90,000 square feet here, 50,000 square feet here, 80,000 square feet here in different locations. Well, a lot of what they make ends up in our fourth location, and they never actually even see what the part they're working on, where it goes, who works on it next, who touches it next, why. So I've started doing that and taking small groups of 3 or 4 and just taking a good 3 or 4 hours with them and taking them from start to finish. Here's where your job starts, and here's what you touch, and here's where it goes next, and all the way down the line. And then here's where it ends up before it goes on a truck to get out. And that has made a huge impact on our employees to understand, wow, I didn't even realize we did this. And so with the different divisions that we have with our wood shop, with our lock shop, with our sheet metal shop, and our other sheet metal shop, some guys just work in one area, and they never even realize that the way we make locks, how we make them, and how come we're so big in that industry. To go see the lock shop, and it's just like, wow, we didn't even know this even existed. We thought we were just this. And so that has made a huge difference in our employee morale, because now I can promote where you're at doesn't need to be where you have to stay. And so that's been a huge impact. And I just started that about 6 months ago, and I don't know why I didn't do it before, and I don't know what made me do it to begin with. I just started it, and I started to see the faces, and I was like, holy crap, this thing's got some legs to it. So I've started doing that. So I think if people showed, where this thing goes, they can feel better about where they work and what they're doing.
I love that, John. In our world, and the people that work in our office behind the scenes, writing checks, checking invoices, or whatever they are, they never get to see the impact we make in people. And so we, every quarter, bring stories of like that young lady that Jason was talking about, a real person that said, I came to the system, didn't have this, didn't have that, but now, I got training, I got a cool job. I have my own place. And so I think, and when the people that are part of that see that, they get inspired. And so I do recognize that. So I might go up here.
Yeah,
Alex, is that
I
you?
kind of want to touch a little bit. I think when it comes to taking pride, I think it comes from the leadership as well. Because when you go out there, right, the floor presence that you're showing that your leadership, right, your managers, your supervisors, even doesn't matter if you're a CEO or plant manager, right, to be out there and showing that your employees that you care, right? If you care, if I care, my employees are going to care, right? And I take that as pride. Not only that is we have this type of culture where you have a person that makes a mistake, right? And all we want to do is go after them, right? Let's write them up, right? No, it's not about doing that. It's about taking that time and saying, hey, how can we train this person? Because if you're making that mistake, maybe you were never taught. And taking that extra time and care into those individuals so that pride is shown. And instead of, leaving it at 2 o'clock out the door, you could have that sense of that ownership, right? I own, I care.
I love it. This is a good transition. We're going to take a small break. We're going to have a working lunch, but we'll come back to start to talk about now, like you started to lay the foundation for solutions to these challenges. So with that, next month, as I told you, we're going to have the launch of the third sector that is important to Southern Nevada, and it's called the Information and Communications Technology sector. And so one of the employers that signed up is called Intelligent Technical Solutions. And they are so excited about what's happening next month. Anyway, they say, can we come and be a part of this one? I said, well, you're not manufacturing. I said, I don't care. I still want to be a part. So they are the lunch sponsor for today. So please give them a hand, ITS. And please go ahead and start having your lunch. But I'm going to introduce
I guess I'm going to talk while they eat.
Yes, yes.
And you said I have 5 minutes.
Yes.
Okay, well, my name is Matt Phillips. I'm with Intelligent Technical Solutions. Whenever we talk to a group, the biggest thing we try to do is bring value. So I really only came here to tell you one thing. So we are the IT providers for Workforce Connections. We work daily with Jaime. What Jaime and his team has done has created a culture of security accountability. So if I leave you with one message today, it's ask yourself this question: does your IT infrastructure have a deep-rooted culture of accountability? Jaime interacts with us on a daily basis. Is this email a phishing? Do we have on-site, off-site backups? Who do we talk to if we have a breach? What would happen if we had a significant problem? What is our emergency plan? Those are the questions you have to ask yourself, because after the pandemic, the bad people got really aggressive. They got really bored, and they got really aggressive. And I can tell you real stories. And you're going to say, well, maybe I'm too little. I'm not a target. I've seen little breaches. I've seen huge breaches. Last week, I was called on a call for a breach that was being ransomed for $1.2 million. They had to go through attorneys that ended up getting 80% of their data back with a ransom that they had to pay at $200,000. That was in California. I've seen blue-collar industries get breached, and this is what hackers do. They put an entity and watch where the money flows. And then they create a phony site, not to get your money, to get a vendor about to give you access. A client came to us and said they created a phony website, and then the bank said, do not give them your money. And the vendor said, I've been with them for 20 years. And the bank said, do not give them your money. And that was $25,000 to a fictitious website. I know that it sounds like I'm trying to scare you. I'm just telling you that there are a lot of concerns out there to get your data and to bring it away. And there are many things to do to prevent. There's nothing 100%, but there's definitely a lot of layers. It's taken a long time to work with Workforce Connections and their on-site team to put a lot of pieces in place, like multi-factor authentication, like security level training, like proper on-site, off-site backups that would not only help you in case of a breach, but would help you in case of an outage, and then just really good conversations about what emails are safe to click, what websites. Those are things that protect the foundation of your business, And so maybe you don't ever want to talk to me and you have a great provider, but I encourage you to have those conversations with who's doing it. And if you have a question, feel free to reach out. The way we interact with clients is we like to meet with people and give them value. So our website is value-driven, our videos are value-driven, and you may take all that value and go back to your current provider and say, are you doing this? And they say, yes. Good. And then if the chances that down the road they're not, or you want a second opinion, we just like to have a relationship with you when that's appropriate. So that's my, I think, 3 minutes? Was that 3 or 4?
Almost 5.
Okay, almost 5.
But well, first let me ask you a question.
Is it true that you ask us semi-regularly, is this a phishing email?
You were making me sound like a really bad guy.
Why? I think it's great. You're saying, hey, man, I don't want to click this. You should err. There's a lot of revenue going through to help Nevada. This is a company that should be afraid, that should be unconcerned, and Jaime errs on the side of caution. The question is, are you erring on the side of caution? Are you just clicking through? I think you're doing it right.
Yeah, I know I put you guys through a little pain, but it's worth it.
He does.
So are you excited about next month's, I mean, you're going to be in a group like this with your peers in the IT?
They're easier to talk to than my peers, because my peers know a lot more about IT than I do. I'm just the director of business impact, so I don't know a lot. I don't fix the computers. I talk to you so that you understand what the techs are saying. I don't fix anything. I just fix communication.
And you buy lunch.
I bought the lunch. Everybody likes the lunch.
All right. Any questions for Matt? All right. One more round of applause for our lunch sponsor. Thank you,
well,
Matt.
getting good. Bye.
Thank you for buying us lunch. Next, what's our next slide, please? Matt, I'll see you next month at the launch of your sector. All right. So I'd like to invite my friend up because he's helped us put this together. He helped us also through the Good Jobs Challenge, that $28 million grant, which we are very optimistic we're going to get. But Scott, I'd like you, all these guys know you, but again, share with the team, there's your mic, share with us why you think, why is the Henderson Chamber of Commerce so invested in this, and why is it important to our area?
Okay, thank you, Jaime. Good to see everyone. Thank you for taking time out of your days to be here today. Just want to make a couple points. The first is a little history lesson. So the Henderson Chamber was founded in 1945. As you go down Lake Mead Parkway before what we call the Henderson Spaghetti Bowl, behind the Target Center, there is a group of old steel plants, manufacturing. Some of it has been repurposed, but that is Henderson's history. We were actually formed as a community based on manufacturing of magnesium in the Second War. We produced a ton of bombs in Henderson, and those factories are really part of our heritage. The Henderson Chamber took shape out of those manufacturers, out of that community, and then in turn the city of Henderson was formed because the chamber kept all those businesses together. And we actually have a little strip of magnesium you could see in our logo right there. That is a tribute to our manufacturing. So there is a basis, there is a history that we have in Southern Nevada, and it often is unknown. So I do want to mention that. Couple other points. Robotics. You know, you're talking about ways to get the attention of kids to be involved in manufacturing. And really a good story. This was about 7 years ago, and there's specifically a champion, Casey Giuliano. She was at Nate Mack Elementary, robotics school coach, and she won the Nevada competition. And then their team, they didn't expect to win. They didn't have the funding to get to the world competition. So she sent a little email to me, and I was like, oh, we gotta help this out. So we did a little fundraising push. We raised about $10,000 in a week. We got every one of the kids back to the national competition. Casey, in turn, has taken that money. She now first she changed schools. She's now at Greenspun. And she now has 3 qualifying teams for the World Championships, an all-girls team, and there are now 4 schools here in Henderson that have robotics teams going to the World Championships. And that's 12 teams in total from Henderson, and 3 of those are all girls teams. So nothing against all you guys. but we're all guys. So it's a great way to support and get both boys and girls engaged. And these are these are the STEM minds that we're trying to inspire to get into these trades. And it's a great way to support it. And those are only, so you got 120 kids, and those are only the winners. You have hundreds of other kids on these other teams that are engaged in mathematics, and this has grown robustly in the last 7 years. So we're really proud of that effort. It's called Biz and Bots, and we're actually still fundraising for it because we had a big presentation at Henderson City Council earlier this week, and we had 3 schools we were committed to. There were 6 schools there, and they're like, Mr. Milrath, can we get some money too? And I'm like, oh boy. So it's a good problem, but these kids, these champions, the teachers, the administrators, they don't have to spend the time fundraising if we can help get all these kids there. So that is a little bit of a pitch. If you still might have an interest in contributing to our Biz and Bots campaign. Sunshine Minting, thank you already. We're a big contributor to Greenspun, but we're still trying to raise additional monies to distribute next week. Dollar for dollar, it all goes through our foundation, and it's going to each of these clubs. So I'm here, and I'd like to thank Mary Malloy as well, our Director of Operations, who's can also tell you more about that program. And we're still taking checks. It's all going to the kids. So that was a little bit of a pitch, Jaime, but that's a good pitch, right? So, and then last one too, we talked about other ways to engage kids about career paths in manufacturing. The Henderson Chamber, we had a program, we still do. It's called I Can Be, and the pandemic put a fork in it for a couple years. But what we do is we go to some of the local high schools, and we set up on their auxiliary gym. We break our members, our companies, into 16 groupings, and then the English classes from each of these schools comes through the freshman class. So you touch 400 or 500 kids depending on the school, and they get to talk to people like you about other career paths. So we originally started this as a way to showcase other career paths outside of gaming. Nothing wrong with gaming, don't get me wrong, but as we're trying to arouse curiosity, show pathways to other earnings and other things to do in our community, it's a great program. And so we're going to get back to that next year. We've done it at Green Valley, Basic, Coronado, Silverado, but I'm forgetting a couple over the years, and hopefully we can be back to it. It takes a dedicated principal and a dedicated counselor at each of the schools, but that's another way that we would want to engage and create an opportunity where you can start talking to more of these kids about manufacturing, which is really why we started it. So last point, as we move to the next session of manufacturing, getting other manufacturers in the room is critical. So as we come to you, if each of you could think of a vendor, a subcontractor, somebody that's in a similar position that is having hiring challenges, and you can help bring them to the next session for manufacturing, that would be a big help for us. So, I mean, it's nothing personal, but you guys are tough to get out of your plants, and I get it. I mean, that you're there because, you're doing what you do, but as manufacturers, I think often it's one of the most challenging sectors at times for to engage and get in these rooms together. So if we can challenge you with that, and when we reach out over the next number of months, if you can help us recruit other attendees that are in similar positions, we would really appreciate that. So Biz and Bots, I Can Be, feel free to talk to us about those. And I want to thank Jaime and the whole Workforce Connections team for all that they're doing here. Thanks, Jaime.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you. Yeah, please give him a hand. Scott is our partner. Again, this doesn't end today. This is the beginning of our journey with you. We're already embarked on our journey with the healthcare employers. We're doing work groups now, which is one of the things we'll ask you later. And I'm going to, I'm not the smartest tool in the toolbox, but I learned last time I got to get your commitment earlier because some people left on me 5-10 minutes before. And so before we start our second session, or maybe in the middle of it, I'm going to ask each one of you, so start thinking about when we start to come, the team right now is working hard on identifying our opportunities for collective action to help you. I'm going to ask you, which group do you want to be involved in? You don't have to be involved in all, maybe the most important one that we're going to show you in here in a few minutes, but I do need you involved, because after all, we're doing it for you. The investments that are going to be brought forward need to match your needs, so we need your voice, and so we'll come to you. Be prepared to say, I want to be in this one or in both, or whatever we get to see here in a few minutes. So with that, what's my next agenda item? And by the way, also, we're going to rely on Scott from the Henderson Chamber of Commerce, his team. Mary, thank you for all the help you gave Sonia on this deal. And the other chambers, and the LVGA, who's coming, and Isla from Goen, and all of our partners here, which we'll meet shortly, to keep this thing going. And right now, it's mostly about workforce development. That's where we wanted to start, because that's everybody's biggest issue. But you started to hear that there's opportunities for advocacy for your industry as well in Carson City, in DC, and so we want to make sure that we can do that as well and bring the right people into the room to hear you. So with that, I want to welcome up my friend Tom. Come up here, Tom, and tell us a little bit about, next slide, please. I want him to share how this thing is made, and then I'm going to walk around and give each one of you this beautiful commemorative silver bar. But Tom, you break it up, because I learned all about polish and frost and stuff when I was at your plant. So the floor is yours.
Thank you, Jaime. I must say, Scott, I'm a little disappointed. I actually thought that was a silver band, not a magnesium band in your logo. But right. So Sunshine Minting, as I said, we supply silver and gold to most of the sovereign mints around the world, large sovereign mints. U.S. Mint is one of our biggest customers. I think. Yep. So our facility here, we produce and ship between our two facilities probably about 55 million ounces of silver a year. So when we looked at relocating to Nevada, one of the things when I approached the governor's office, I used a simple tagline. It was our job to bring silver back to the silver state. Because really the whole silver industry in Nevada has been decimated. There's still some mining going on, but now Nevada is probably the largest silver producer based on what we are producing here out of Henderson. So Jaime approached me about doing something for this team. This is similar to, we had the governor come visit our facility and actually had the governor stamp his own silver bar. So this is it's in the shape, it's a very standard silver bar. One of the things I wanted to use on this is to highlight the technology is, unlike traditional stamping, this is all laser finished. So the dies that produced this part were produced on lasers. We actually just took delivery of our second large format laser system for producing our dies. And you talk about the change in technology. 5 years ago, maybe 10% of what we produced had some sort of a laser finish or elaborate finish on it. Now it's about 85% of everything we produce. So even an old archaic industry like the coins industry is finding ways to evolve and stay current. As what Jaime was saying is, when we set up in our processes, because it's all done by laser, everything's done digitally. We've been fully digital in our artwork and design for about a decade. We can dictate what parts we want, different frosts, different levels, different finishes. We can apply rainbow finishes, all kinds of different things. So that's what this bar, I just wanted to show everybody how the technology. So, we need programmers, we need people with tool and die experience, CNC experience, all those sort of things. That it's not just about metal bashing. There's a lot more that goes into it. So Sunshine Minting is very, very happy to be part of this organization here in Henderson. We're thrilled to be here. We wanted to give this to everybody to kick off this partnership, and enjoy. Put it on your desk, and thank you all.
Thank you, Tom. How about a hand for Tom Power and Sunshine Minting? You can take it out of the casing, by the way. Oh, yeah. You can take it out of the casing, which is really cool to feel and stuff. It's got just a nice weight to it. I love it. Thank you, Tom. Thank you so much. Okay. What is our next agenda item here? Can I have the next slide, please? Okay, so before we go to that, I want to make sure, if you can, Vicente, take the mic. Let's start over there. If you would please hand it to Ayla first so that Ayla could introduce herself. So please, who you are, who you're with, and why you're here. Ayla, you go first.
Hello. Is this working? Yes. Good afternoon. My name is Ayla Young. I'm with the Governor's Office of Workforce Innovation. We go by GOIN. Thank you so much to all of you for coming today. Having access to our employers is so incredibly important to all of the work that we're doing around workforce development. I just wanted to quickly say a couple of things, and everything you're talking about is just spot on. But our office is very interested in, of course, bringing in innovation, workforce development opportunities for you, linking you up with training providers. And at the moment, we have some training in short-term credentialing and certification that is tied in with manufacturing with the funding to pay for people to go through this training. So I'm very interested in making sure you folks are aware of that. Some of the other areas too is you're on the industry sector partnership, but within the governor's office, we're very interested in have our industry sector councils, which is state level. So everything that is happening here today is so crucial to having your voices, which then carry on to the state level with those meetings. So we appreciate that, and Jaime has been such a wonderful partner and allowing us to actually honestly come today, hear what you're saying, and then that really helps us as we're shaping out programs and making sure that things that are created actually are of value to you and will help you grow the workforce that you need. Just one other thing that I just want to say, Jaime, I have such a heart for the K-12 space. My background is STEM education and workforce development. So understanding how to engage with young people at a very young age is crucial. Creating very clear pathways for them so that as they're going through school, they understand that you're at that next place as they graduate out of high school. So I'm very excited that you are recognizing that's a key part, and we definitely want to partner with our K-12 space to make sure that happens.
Thank you, Ayla. Scott.
Thanks, Ayla. You all heard from me, so Mary.
Hi, everyone. My name is Mary Malloy. I'm with the Henderson Chamber of Commerce, the Director of Operations, and just here to continue the support and the effort for advanced manufacturing in Southern Nevada. I know that I've emailed probably a lot of you around the table here, so just thank you for your time and providing value to the conversation.
Hello, everyone. Yintao Jian. I'm Associate Dean of College Engineering, UNLV. My boss, Dean Venkat, is not able to attend today's meeting, but I just want to tell you something about our college and what we're doing to help you develop the workforce you're looking for. Our current college has 4 academic units. One is on the civil engineering, environmental engineering as one unit. One is on mechanical engineering. I'm sure a lot of our students from that program could end up in your plants and your facilities. Also, we have electrical and computer engineering unit, and also we have a fairly big computer science program. So we have 4. Also, we have a small program that's entertainment engineering design program, and a couple of you guys just mentioned about automation, everything like lightning. You have that experience, and we do that stuff here at college. So far we have about 3,200 students in our college, in all these programs, and a lot of them actually find their jobs in manufacturing sectors for sure. So really love to work with you guys in terms of training students to meet the job skills that they need to be successful in your facilities. Also, I heard a lot of you particularly mentioned about the research and collaboration. We're open to all these opportunities. A lot of our funding sources are from federal governments, NSF, DOE, DOD, but we love to work with local manufacturing folks and the companies to develop that research and development capability here. One thing that is happening in 2 years that we're going to have a new engineering building. The state approved just the last legislation. so the building will be up in 2 years, and the first floor we have a maker space. Actually, interestingly, I was having a conversation with a bunch of folks, some of them here and some of our maker spaces, like a Blackstone. It's kind of people we're trying to put a lot of equipment. Some of them are really manufacturing oriented, the kind of equipment. And we try to make sure our students have enough hands-on experiences with these operating and using the equipment, and not just for manufacturing. Could it be just doing some research engineering work? And besides I would say our engineering and computer science students, we also have a big commitment to working with local schools. Tristan over there, actually, we work together on something like a dual enrollment program. So as actually next Monday, we have a meeting with CCSD. He's included in our meeting to see how we can improve STEM engagements, STEM education, and particularly we're interested in doing some dual enrollment kind of programs with the CCSD. And we just identified a few areas or courses that we could let high school kids take when they're still in high school. One is about how to use the SolidWorks to do some work. So that's definitely related to some of your manufacturing people work. And also we are looking at allow them to take some surveying class. I just got the approval from our civil engineering folks. So surveying using all stations, that kind of thing. So they're doing geological kind of work. Computer science is another area because I heard, you mentioned that some of our students don't have computer skills to be able to do some manufacturing work. It's not just this problem is not new to you. It's actually everywhere. Even the students coming for computer science degree programs, their computer skills are really nearly to zero, okay, when they got to college. So actually we're doing here this summer, first time, we're going to create some kind of computer science bridge class, like a summer before they actually enter the college education. Will be given the opportunity to learn some really basic computer skills, like say how to create a directory, how to open a file, close a file, and that kind of very basic computer skills, and then prepare them for maybe computer science or even engineering. Another thing we're doing is thinking of even high schools. Like this time, I know mentioned about automation area. Actually, I have Saturday program. I bring in this time about 30, 40 students from various high schools, middle schools across the valley. And these students come here to learn a bit of cybersecurity. The gentleman Matt just left. And also they came here to study a little bit machine learning and coding as well. And also we have a program on robotics, drones, that kind of thing. So we really like to work with you, see you're thinking maybe some kind of hands-on manufacturing type of thing. I'm more than happy to create this kind of program and include into our summer camp or Saturday camps. Okay, I have lots of things to talk about. I don't want to take your time, so
we do.
I'll just stop here.
Thank you. Thank you. Let's and if you please limit it to 2 minutes because we have to get back to the session with the employer. So,
all right. Good afternoon, Jaime. Thanks for inviting us. I'm Juan Rangel from Vegas PBS. You're probably wondering, what is Vegas PBS doing here? TV station, right? But we also have a pretty large workforce in training development and economic development department. And what do we do there? We do a couple of things. Many of the things we do there actually address a lot of the items that were mentioned in your problem solutions. First thing we have a career training programs. We also have short-term training programs. Our career training programs range anywhere from 6 months to 18 months, and they're certification programs. We have everything from IT, AC, manufacturing, personnel, medical certification, and coding. We have a little bit of something for everybody. Our short-term courses are usually 6 weeks. They're instructor-led. They're all online as well, and they're more for exploration and kind of to develop your staffs. We also have safety programs available, not just OSHA 10 and 30, but also safety programs. So we work with various companies to develop their safety programs to to encompass it all year long to address their all their OSHA and their compliance issues. And one other thing that we do that may be beneficial to a lot of you out there, we have an assessment program. We have a job-optimized assessment. And what is an assessment? All of us have done assessments, right? I spent 30 years in the military. I don't know how many assessments I've done. But the assessment we have at Vegas PBS is called Job-Optimized. And what it does, it measures 25 behavioral traits. And it pairs students, career counselors, it pairs the students or the job seeker with the right career. So instead of looking at what experience he has, it looks at his behaviors. What career will this person be? Because we can teach and train employees or prospective employees how to do a job, but you can't teach them to want to be there. So by using this assessment, we put the right career seeker in the right place, in the right industry that he would be successful in. Hopefully I can be of assistance. If anybody has any questions, I'll be here afterwards to answer anything.
Thank you. Mary.
Good afternoon. I'm Mary Arbutina with Nevada Industry Excellence. We're an outreach program of the university system specifically for manufacturing. We're part of the U.S. Department of Commerce, and there's a program like us in every state. We support small and medium-sized manufacturers, which compared to Ford, all of you are smaller. And we come into ours. My personal area of expertise is in productivity. So anyone who wants to do more effective work with fewer people, I'll give you my card so that you can contact me and we can improve that. Our team is statewide. We work with all manufacturing. Couple of things. Write it down. October 7th is Manufacturing Day. It is my goal to have every manufacturer in either a representative in a classroom or students at your factory on that day learning a bit about manufacturing. And I'd like to end by saying that I myself have been a manufacturing engineer for 40 years. Probably the most fun you could really have with it not being Vegas style. Love the factory environment and would love to. Nevada has 35% of our manufacturing employees are women. That there's less than 20 nationwide. So we're already getting there. But I think that we need to look at the fact that most manufacturing, most of your people move up on a merit base. You don't respect them because of what they look like. You respect your people for what they do. And that's the thing that I love about manufacturing. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Tom.
My name's Tom Nicholas. I'm with Nevada State College. For those of you who don't know, we're a fairly new college. We'll be celebrating 20 years coming up this August, I believe. We have a new president, which is exciting, and she's very interested in workforce development. If you've not met her, hopefully you'll get a chance to meet her. She's great. I'm in a new position. I'm new to the college, so we're really excited about starting up some new programs. And what I love about this industry sector council meetings is that we get to hear, as we're developing programs, we're not going to tell you what you need to, what skills your employees need. We want to hear from you what you'd like to have them taught so that we can develop programs that meet your needs and into the future.
Thank you, Tom. Lori.
Okay, hi there. My name is Lori Purdue. I represent the University of Phoenix, and we have over 71,000 students nationwide. Here in Southern Nevada, we have about 1,200 who are attending on ground and online, and we have about 25,000 alumni in our market. And as I've been to many of these meetings through Workforce Connections, and every time I I hear the problems and how do we solve this? And the reason that I'm here today is the state schools have a great opportunity to create solutions, but only 26% of our community has a bachelor's degree. Not everybody needs a bachelor's degree for your jobs. However, there's an opportunity for the non-traditional schools to solve some problems. Adults who are working can't go to school during the day often. So we have to collaborate with all types of education units so that we can solve the problem. With that, there's upskilling that can be done through degree programs, through certificate programs, through professional development that we offer. And I've been in this market for 25 years. I've put kids through the school system. I went to college here, and education and upskilling our community is very important to me.
Thank you, Lori. Tristan.
Thank you. Tristan Hayes, Clark County School District. I'm going to hand out cards while I talk, multitask as we like to do in the school district. So with what we're offering and what I've heard today, for some of you, I would love to train my teachers to get them IPC certified so you can get your solderers. I am getting my teachers SOCA certified so they understand manufacturing processes. You have a card. And what I'm looking to do to challenge you all for this manufacturing day in October is I will set up a circuit training system in a particular school, although I will tell you all 8 of my manufacturing programs throughout the valley will have the exact same equipment, many of which are on pallets to be delivered this year. But with that circuit training system that I'm looking or proposing for you all to participate in, thank you, sir, is, as mentioned earlier, time is involved in this, changing the parents' perceptions of education, changing the students' perceptions of manufacturing. Time is involved in this. So what I'm offering you is the time to be in our classrooms on manufacturing day or any other day that we decide on, and you will be with a student working on a mechatronics table. You will be with a student working on a AC/DC trainer. You will be working with a student on a hydraulic pneumatic trainer. You will be working with a student on a skill boss from Amatrol. And you will see these students work on these devices under your supervision and decide, is this student comfortable? Does this student like doing this? And as you interact with these students, feel free to say, hey, if I came back in April and hired you, would you be interested in applying for a job? And that's why today I will have to leave early because we have a hiring day at Legacy High School with some wonderful employers who will be at our event, as well as on the 26th of next week, we'll be at SECTA. So I've got one in the north side of town, one in the south side of town, where we are bringing our inaugural hiring event for manufacturing to the forefront. If this works with our great partnership with Workforce Connections, with Dieter and the state, we will have manufacturing hiring days, we will have welding hiring days, we will have construction hiring days, because these are the programs that we offer in our high schools. Your dad's wood shop no longer exists, but I still have automotive workshops. I have furniture and cabinet construction programs. I've got welding labs. I've got manufacturing programs. So when you say we need to bring back shop classes, I'll raise you a construction lab, a manufacturing lab, and a welding lab. Thank you.
Thank you, Tristan. As you can see, we need you to know the commitment is real, and so if you want to connect with these things, you know you're in the right group. Michael and Dan from CSN.
I'd like to thank you all for being here and welcome you to the Henderson campus at the College of Southern Nevada. We are your community college. To try to be as brief as possible, I'm the Dean of the School of Advanced and Applied Technologies, and that's the area that has all the hands-on, cool technical stuff. It's nerd central. Be kind to nerds because you'll probably work for one. And we produce technicians of all sorts, electronics, information technology, and indeed manufacturing. We have had an automation control program that's very mature now, working quite nicely, recently redesignated as Advanced Manufacturing Automation, and we've just introduced a new production manufacturing program called Machining, and again leads to an Associate of Applied Science with all the stepwise exit points, short certificates, extended certificates of achievement, and the associate degree, and then corresponds very nicely as a as the first 2 years of a Bachelor of Applied Science in Project Management. So we've got the skill sets that we can use, and I'm happy to. I've got some samples of the program designs, and of course I'll give you my card so that you can reach it. I'd like to introduce our Executive Director for Advanced Manufacturing, Mr. Dan Flick.
Hi. Excuse me. Haven't talked all day, so I'm a little rusty. Dan Flick, I'm from actually Indiana for 39 years, moved to San Diego for a year, and now I'm in Las Vegas. The Director for Advanced Manufacturing Programs. Basically what that means is that I'm going to work with the credit side. I also work with workforce development, doing things like a smorgasbord of whatever you need as far as training goes, specific training, targeted training, for your industry. And what I'm here to do today is shut up and listen, to listen to you guys. And I've had quite a bit of experience with apprenticeship programs, with credit programs, high school programs, dual enrollment, early college, you name it. I mean, I've done it. Started up a prison program for felons, low-level felons, which was very popular in Indiana, and started up high school machining programs, tool and die programs. I worked with Vincennes University. If anybody here, you Mint guys, you should probably. I think there's a tool and die program that they run there. It's been going since 1960. It's very good. You can't run into any shop in the country that you don't know of a Vincennes graduate that that worked there. So there's not a lot of tool and die. We don't have tool and die at CSN unless you guys direct us that you need some manual machining or some grinding or something like that, which is not unheard of. So, but I'm here. I'll be here all day. Don't have any cards yet because I'm pretty new. I don't even have a badge or anything like that. I had to go buy some clothes so I look presentable. But other than that, come get me later on for the tour, and then just talk to me. I'll be working with Tristan and doing a dual enrollment, and then working with the credit side to make sure that we can get people entry-level jobs with you guys through our entry points, and then I actually upskill them or get them to a better place down the road, either with us or with you guys internally. So thanks for having me, and I love listening to you guys.
Thank you, Dan. And so, again, reminder, after we finish at 2:30, CSN is putting on the tour of their manufacturing program. So if you've signed up, you'll probably just start right here, and they'll take you to that. So just make sure you take all your stuff with you, because we have to clean the room. So make sure you leave with your stuff for that tour. So with that, we're going to jump right back into the work, and I can see I'm going to turn it over to Jake, I guess, because Jake, you can tell them what you found and where we go from here.
Sure. So over the lunch break, we were out in the hallway, and basically what we were trying to do is take all of those Post-it notes that you guys came up with, your ideas and all your challenges, and we tried to boil it down to sometimes 3, sometimes 4. We ended up with 3. So we're looking for basics like common themes or focus areas, or eventually Jaime will talk to you during the second half of this meeting. We want to put together some work groups made up of the industry partners that are willing to volunteer some of their time to help us as we start crafting some more of these solutions. So a couple things. It's a very much an inexact science. We did our best to try to categorize everything as best we could. It's not going to be perfect. There's going to be some things that maybe you feel like, oh, that should be in the other category, or vice versa. There were a couple things that just didn't end up fitting anywhere. It doesn't mean that we're going to ignore them and never bring them up again, but we just tried to identify where we have really broad talking points about these are the things that my company needs. So the first one that we came up with, I think this is the most obvious, the recruitment and retention piece. We talked a lot about changing the narrative. That term came up a couple times. We talked about it not only in terms of, this is no longer your grandpa's dirty manufacturing job and that kind of thing, but also how do we get the word out to prospective candidates about setting expectations about how this is a long-term career, that you're not going to come out making $25, $30 an hour, but you can certainly progress to that, even sometimes quickly, depending on your aptitude and your dedication. We talked a lot about diversifying the workforce and then tapping into what I called our alternate pools, which includes immigrants, folks that have just gotten to this country that maybe have skill sets from their previous countries that you can tap into. Second chance, I know Dan just talked a little bit about that, folks that are sort of transitioning back into the workforce who, again, maybe learned skills while they were incarcerated or are, eager to really start a career. And then persons with disabilities. The other thing that came up a lot was opportunities to upskill. I know a lot of folks mentioned they have positions and that when they're looking to sort of hire for higher skill positions, they like to pull from within, of course. They like to take folks at that lower level and then as they're able, support them as they sort of grow into a career in the manufacturing field. We talked a little bit about culture and leadership and kind of growing supervisors, and I think that speaks a little bit to the retention piece. Giving people opportunities to grow within the company obviously is going to lead to retention, and then allowing them to sort of envision themselves like, hey, I might be starting off at a frontline worker position, but pretty quickly I can move up and be a supervisor or whatever. The second broad category, I called it ties to education, for lack of a better word. We talked a lot about, automation. A couple people mentioned AI and robotics on their Post-it notes, but I don't know that we necessarily got into it during the conversation piece. And then basically what that means is that now we're going to have to start looking at workers that have these basic computer skills coming in or who have the ability to learn, these new types of technical skills that maybe they didn't need 10, 15 years ago. We talked about demo days, which was a great idea, having sort of folks come in and get connected to high school students. We talked very much about CCSD and CSN and sort of connecting to their programs that already exist and being able to recruit talent from those programs and maybe even ways that we can scale them up. A couple of folks mentioned the apprenticeship model specifically in the Post-its, and then a couple other people mentioned like different other kinds of work-based learning to sort of help, again, grow that internal workforce or help bring people on that maybe don't have the skill set right now but are capable of learning it. And then last but not least, we had sort of like these mid to high skill positions, which I don't think we talked about a ton during the actual discussion piece. But again, folks that are going to be filling these positions, they're going to be different than sort of the ones that you're recruiting for frontline, where they are going to have some basic skills, some basic educational foundation before you can bring them on board. And then finally, this was tied a lot to the very first topic that we had, which was the short-term needs. We just had folks that listed a bunch of different entry-level type positions that they need right now. Machine operators was mentioned a lot, maintenance, forklift. Someone did mention tool and die, but really just kind of, frontline workers that are needed. And then the other thing that came up was, number one, looming deadlines, like I need 40 people by May, I need 15 people yesterday, things like that. And then how that sort of also impacts the organization's ability to grow. So we can't scale up, we can't add new lines if we're not going to have the workforce that's going to be able to do that. So does that sound about right?
So as you can tell, 3 areas, right? This was it's going to come up every time. It's the immediate hiring needs. You need bodies today. This is very detailed, though. It kind of gives us a roadmap to say, okay, how can we, all of us in the back, help you have immediate responses to this? How do we get machine operators, maintenance, forklift, tool and die, frontline to you now? So that's something we want to talk about and hear from you. And also the skill acquisition partners now will weigh in and say, here's an idea. But again, it has to be approved by you. If our ideas don't match your needs, we're not going to do them and invest. The second subject, to me, I've heard it in many ways today. It's like, how do we establish this tie to academia at this level, at the research and development level? But how do we make sure that the industry has all these multiple strategies to help have a sustainable talent pipeline for you? And then, of course, this one, heard it also. How do we change the narrative, make sure that we have more effective recruitment? How do we change the culture and the things in your workplaces so that you have long-term retention? And again, how do we play a role? Because, as I was saying earlier, in our system, at least right now, it's not built to to use our investments to support that. But maybe it should. And so those are some of the things that we on our side have to do. So with that, let's get started, right? Will we just go maybe pick one and then ask for ideas?
Yeah, very similar to the first half of the meeting. You have your color-coded Post-it notes, and so what we're going to do, we're going to kind of change gears a little bit. And so instead of maybe naming your challenges that you have in each of these categories, what we really want from you today is ideas that you can share with us and the skill acquisition partners to say, hey, you know, this is the challenge I had, but here's an idea that we think can be put into effect tomorrow or next month or whatever. Just kind of helping us craft, again, the solutions to the challenges that you're facing and help us get a better idea of what those challenges are so that we can, leave this meeting and immediately start going to the drawing board and start coming up with things to bring back to the group at the next meeting.
Yep. So something actionable, right? For example, Nectar took action. They called us and said, find me a pool of immigrants with legal authorization to work in the USA. We'll put our resources, match it to yours, and let's get people to work. And so like that, any idea that you might have, and we'll start with this category with recruitment retention. How do we change the narrative? How do we diversify the workforce? How do we tap into these alternate pools that we've been talking about? How do we create opportunities to upskill your workforce inside right now? Help you change your culture and help create leader supervisor. Let's start with that one. So write 1, 2 ideas, concrete ideas that we can put on the table and say, is this something we want to invest in?
The green Post-it.
Green Post-it, thank you. And also, if you want to say it too. We'll write it for you. So raise your hand if you want the mic. An idea to, again, help solve the issue that we've identified today that you all share, which is effective recruitment and long-term retention. We've talked about these are the ways. Changing the narrative. Well, how? How do we change the narrative? We gave some examples, but we want to hear it from you because we don't want to assume, again, that we know how to do it. We want to hear from you, what do you want us to invest in? You want to pick up some of those right here? Oh, okay. Where's the...
I got
oh, you got it. Okay,
yeah. Well, so I wanted to talk a bit about culture. I think that's one thing that we do at Ocean Spray pretty well. In order to drive your culture, you got to define your culture. And the way we went about doing that was actually surveying all of the employees, getting them to provide their definition of what does a good employee or teammate look like and what does a bad employee or teammate look like. So now you've got all of this information, all of these words, and we created a word cloud with all of that information so that you can define your characteristics of who you're looking for when you're hiring, because that's really where people start to stick. When you put the right people together, when somebody stands out like a sore thumb, they don't stay. They're going to turn around, they're going to leave, or once you get the masses of the team all working to say, one of our values is teamwork and accountability. And if you've got somebody over here that's not doing that kind of a work, the team eventually gets to a point where they're going to push that person out, and they'd rather do without. And they would say to us, this guy's not going to work. We just move him out. We'll get more done without this person, and then we can work together more effectively, more efficiently. And that's how you start building that culture within the four walls, and then start doing things as leaders on our behalf. We have to listen, and we have to break down those walls to that success. So as the team brings up ideas, if we do nothing about it, then they'll stop bringing up ideas, and then you're gonna lose them.
John, let me ask you: how do you once you identify what's important to a company, right? I can imagine the wordle on your wall, accountability, trust, whatever those things are. How do you then go find it in a candidate? Do you use some kind of an assessment?
Well, it takes a little bit of practice in your hiring and interview skills. As you really got to learn. We used a model called Hiring for Attitude. It's a book by Mark Murphy, and in that model, he says, okay, define your culture. What does it look like? And then you start asking questions that are not your normal. Tell me where do you want to be in 5 years, or what's your favorite animal type questions. But tell me about a time that brought out the best in you. And then you'll be able to listen and find out if that person will they'll say, well, I had a great time when I was, helping the team build I can't even think of a good example right now because I'm on the spot. But when you have a bad answer, the person will say, "Well, it's everybody else's fault," and that's none of the accountability culture that we're looking for. And you hear that they don't say it in those exact words, but they'll give all the reasons why they couldn't do something. You can be able to. I'll screen out that person.
Okay, so Malik, Robbie, if you could note, I think for our work group sessions that are coming forward, one thing that I'm hearing here is how do we help these employers and those who are interested in hiring for fit in their organization, right? Do we use assessments that they might already have? Do we have to become familiar with the assessments they use to implement that culture fit during the recruitment hiring process? Or do we have stuff like Tradeify that we use, right? We don't use it for that, but I know Tradeify does measure culture fit too. So anyway, that's I think a good, I haven't heard that one yet, and so hiring for culture fit, let's put that on the list. Let's see, I saw one here I wanted to talk about. Oh yeah, so this one calls me because I love marketing and PR, but it says industry relations, a PR campaign, like for example, Got Milk. Who doesn't know about Got Milk, right? Where is that? Oh, it's right? Okay, tell us what you mean by that, Ray.
Yeah, and I think sports and entertainment has done a good job of this, especially here in Vegas, where we're thought of as a lifestyle market. But I think that manufacturing as an industry needs a facelift. It needs more publicity. And what I mean by that is localized activations that make manufacturing look aspirational to candidates at all stages of their careers, right? And I mentioned Got Milk because that campaign convinced us that drinking a liter of milk a day was a good thing for our bodies, and we bought into it, and we did it, right? The American dream of purchasing houses was a Fannie Mae campaign that started in the 60s and 70s, post-World War II in Vietnam. We need the same thing for manufacturing. What that does is obviously it's not tactical, it's more like it's storytelling, but we need to show how aspirational it can be to start a career in manufacturing and grow it here. So.
Okay, so it's again that story about the narrative, right? How do we help the industry? So Tristan's going to leave. He wants another minute on the mic. Tristan.
Yeah, I just have a quick call to action. As many of you may want some action steps that you leave with today, you now have my email address on the cards that I provided. The State Department of Education is in this process of changing our 3-year programs of study to 2-year programs of study. We want assistance from industry partners on what is essential in those state standards. So presently we are writing what's called advanced manufacturing, and then we're rewriting our mechanical tech program, which is really more of a millwright / building technician. So we're looking to create that position as well. So if you are interested in giving some input as to what this building technician millwright position should look like and the advanced manufacturing position, I would very much love to receive an email from you with that interest. I will send you the link for the state. There's a survey to be filled out as to what skill sets should be pivotal in those standards. And if you would like to be involved in the writing of those state standards as part of the committee, we would love your input as well. So that's the action item that I have now. And then, of course, we're going to reiterate that October 7th, Manufacturing Day. I'm going to have you all in my labs working with our students, cherry picking the best talent. Thank you.
Yeah, a hand for Tristan. Thank you, Tristan. So I have one here that has to do with something that's really important to us at Workforce Connections too. We partnered again with our with Clark County School District, with the College of Southern Nevada, and others to make Clark County the largest county in the nation to be certified as a work-ready community by ACT. And this initiative is based on the ACT Work Keys assessment, which is a work readiness assessment that ends up in the National Career Readiness Certificate, or NCRC, widely used, I think, in the manufacturing industry and other places as well. But here there's a comment that says, use of ACT to work sent on. I'm sorry, I'm not, whoever wrote it in a hurry. Who is this? ACT Job Force Ready. Is it list or use of ACT Job Force Ready to Work sent on, I think it says. Anybody? Nobody's going to own this one? Okay. So to me, again, that was you, Dean? It wasn't ACT. Oh. Alternate jobs. Oh, see, so I'm, yeah, ALT. So go ahead, Dean. ALT.
Sorry, handwriting's bad. I find that we use a lot of temporary labor in our manufacturing plant right now. So we have only probably about 65% of permanent employees, where we have 35% temporary employees. And we find it hard to convert a lot of these temporary employees to full-time. So having a list of, these programs and, the alternate job workforce that we have access to would be great for us to maybe have them come on board as a permanent employee and not have to have that temporary workforce within our four walls as much. We are regulated, so some of the stuff may not be able to do, like the felons and stuff within the gaming industry might not work, but there's other options out there that could probably benefit us and help sustain our workforce a bit.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. So those of you who've turned in these papers, I'm not going to pick on you, but who would like to elaborate on what you turned in, whatever that might be, to frame the conversation around this? How do we find solutions to this common issue you all have? Anybody? Tom.
So really focusing on changing the narrative. One of the meetings I attended a few months ago, one of the discussions talked about the promotion of manufacturing as a viable job, right? And that, Ray, like you said before, manufacturing is not a second-class job. And one of the things they had mentioned there, like it is specific to our area, I think the number was 36,000 gaming jobs have gone away, and they're never going to come back. And I think you have to change that mindset to the people that were in the gaming world to know that, hey, manufacturing is a great alternative, and maybe they, somehow we need to educate that to have a reset in their thinking, so that they're out looking. I know, we went to the job fair last week, and I think there was 5,000 or 6,000 people showed up, but all you kept hearing about was MGM, MGM, MGM. I'm glad for MGM, but there's a lot of us that could have used a lot of those same pool of people, to backfill manufacturing jobs. So I think using some sort of marketing, I know I just heard that before, to really help people to change the narrative about manufacturing as a viable career. Because these are stable jobs. They're not cyclical based on tourism and things like that. I think the manufacturing sector just offers so much more than the tourism sector for people that are looking for long-term stable careers.
I hear you loud and clear. Malik, Robbie, the job fair that just happened, obviously it wasn't focused on manufacturing. It was organized by the 2 Clark County commissioners. We supported it. It was in that big convention center building. But do you know if these employers were invited? Sorry, Malik, say it one more time in the mic.
There were some specific requirements for that event, and I know they reached out to employers and did some pre-screening, so I'm not sure who actually received invitations to participate in that event. One of the things that I know we have talked about doing and might be applicable as a solution here is more industry-targeted events in the future, so that as opposed to getting lost like in the sea when you have MGM with 40,000 people lined up at theirs, having a manufacturing hiring event that really highlights the careers that are possible within the manufacturing industry. So and that's something that we could help work on.
That's what I heard, and I think that should definitely be on our list to do. If this group if you think that's something you want, we will make that happen. We will have a day that's specific to you, but have a good narrative ahead of time to build the interest, to tell a story, and bring in, as somebody said earlier, people who have an interest in this. You don't want to just fish for, you want to fish for a certain, kind of individual has the interest in being, that it's attracted to them what you have to offer. So I think that's starting to all in my mind as something that we're going to do, a large industry-focused hiring event. And we'll bring, Scott, what do you think about that? Industry-focused manufacturing hire event, citywide, bring in all the partners, make it a big building, and have them featured, and not have, again, the other employers that typically are in those big job fairs. You like that idea?
Yeah, well, I think that would follow the model of our ICB career fairs. It was to really focus on non-gaming. Got it. Got to get on the record. It was, if we followed the model of our ICB career days, it was to specifically highlight non-gaming career paths. So, what we ran into logistically was getting the kids transported. So therefore, we went to the schools and we would get, 400, we would get one class of freshmen rotate through for the day. But if it was more of a career fair expo, I'm sure somewhere like even Dollar Loan Center or something like that would be readily available as a large scale, job fair. Yeah.
Yeah, we just had a job fair again that we collaborated with the state on, and Malik, the number of registered participants that were actually out there looking for a job were how many? 6,100 people. And so again, and we know already that hundreds of jobs were offered and accepted on the spot, right? Over 500 offered. And so again, I think what I heard Tom say is, why not have that for them? I mean, they need, as obviously, they have the immediate hiring needs as well. So to me, that's emerging as probably a quick solution of organizing something for them. Can we get a mic here? Oh, you go first, Alex, and
real
then
quick.
Rick.
What you're talking about, that's amazing, because being in manufacturing here in Las Vegas, I've never been to one of those expos where it's just targeting manufacturing for Nevada, right? And I think that's amazing, a solution of what you're talking about there.
Tom, I like the idea, and I also like yours. I mean, I think those are good ideas to bring in manufacturing, and I didn't even know about that job fair last Friday. I heard it from some of my counterparts at Ahern, but Extreme, we didn't know anything about it. So may have been something I would have participated in.
Okay. So again, what I'm hearing for our team at Workforce Connections, I think we know that we have lots of industries, lots of employers. So we're going to have to. What this is teaching me is be mindful. Number one, if we're doing general ones like that every industry hears about it. But again, in my mind, is like better than that is making one for them, specific for them, design for them, have visuals for them, a story for them. A good story, right? I don't know what that is yet, but like you said, something that's going to convince somebody to drink a liter of milk at least, So, all right. So recruitment retention. Do we have another large item here that anybody wants to discuss before we jump to ties to education? Yes. Yes. Yes.
And I forget who said it because so many great things were said. But I think if we do a job fair like that, you've got to add the what's in it for the people to come, right? So differentiate manufacturing from the casino jobs, differentiate them from the traditional jobs so that they can see the bullet points of, oh, this is different and this is why I need to come. So we need to make a splash in the market as to why these manufacturing jobs are valuable.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that's the tone that I keep hearing, Ray. This narrative has to be effective, right? There's words like catchy, how do we make it sexy, all these things, but I keep hearing this, that you guys need that type of message that removes the leaky hydraulic pump thing from the visual, or the sweatshop, and has these amazing facilities that I've been to for good paying jobs and long-term careers. That's the new narrative, so we need to do that. And it starts in many ways. Again, this booklet that I hope you're interested in participating in too, meaning telling us what professions, occupations, positions you would want in that booklet to be at the classrooms at CCSD at an early age. That's all part of the narrative. That's all part of you saying this is the story we want to tell at this age, at this age, at this age. So, okay, can we move to this one right here? And by the way, again, this is, as you can tell, just starting to frame our conversation as we move forward. In the next few weeks, we're going to be having this next-gen model calls for action, if you will, to happen over a period of time. And so these three areas that you've identified for your industry, we're going to have a work group, and I don't know if it merits now one for each one. That's what we'll start. Maybe we'll combine them. But we want you to tell us before you leave today, put my name on here because I want to be in that conversation. I don't want to miss it. And it doesn't have to be in person like this. We're doing on Zoom. And maybe it doesn't even have to be you, but somebody, your designee for your company. But you want to say, Extreme, we don't want to miss this group or this group. And so we'll do that in a minute. For now, let's jump to ties to education. So, Jake, you want to pick it up from there?
Sure. Same exercise as before. You're going to use your orange Post-it Again, you're going to just write down ideas like what are some action items that we can take away from today to start implementing. What are some things that maybe your company is doing already? If you have best practices you're willing to share, what are some ideas that you've had in the past but maybe didn't have the resources to do? Anything that you can share with us as far as ways to tie to education a little bit better. And again, solution focus, helping us craft the solutions that we're going to bring back to you, and hopefully, as Jaime mentioned earlier, start to invest the resources of the system into.
Yep, and to tie it even more, we want you to say, okay, so since AI and robotics is a opportunity, tell us how you want us to invest into AI robotics programs in schools, CSN, what does that mean? We've heard a lot from Ray on demo days. I think we know what that means. And so tell us, how do we make that happen? This whole apprenticeship work-based learning thing, tell us how you think it could happen with your company, right? Is it an apprenticeship that starts this way, that way, the traditional apprenticeship, whatnot? So take these little topics and tell us specifically a direction that you would want us to see move forward and invest our resources in. We have one right here, George? Okay. So this one says, matching curriculum to our needs. I like that. Define a curriculum of common needs. So again, not an employer, but an industry, right? Which is what this is about. So how amazing would it be? I know Tristan's gone, but he would say that's exactly what he wants. He wants to create a curriculum in his CTE programs that matches exactly what this industry needs. So this is a good one. This is very specific. You guys agree? Tom has another one.
We have a comment over here.
Oh, comment? Go ahead. Thank you, Tom.
Mine was back to whoever came up with the co-op back in the day. I used to go to a high school that was on what they call a block schedule, where it was kind of working like college, but you had a choice of an end of a period where you get to leave school early, or you could do study hall or whatever you want. To me, that's something that if it's implemented in the CCSD system where they have a block schedule, or you could allow students to leave early but go to a paid working internship where they get to learn, take what they're learning in class, or you're teaching them these skills to move on, where it's part of the curriculum, they get to leave early, but also be able to work inside manufacturing, also during manufacturing hours, where they could get that experience, where they could easily transition into a full-time role.
So I love that. Is that on paper somewhere?
I couldn't write it on the post-it.
It's too much to write? But let's capture that. Why ILA? Because our system is built for that. We do have youth money that we can pay for that, for you guys, if that's something of interest. So again, I want that on paper so we can bring it back to you as a potential cooked out, baked solution that you say, I like it or not. So please, somebody capture that one. Victor, sorry?
Yeah, I do believe I hear that you say that, and we are doing something in the company right now. Our module is 3 different processes. For example, it's a food industry, food service, and injection plastic. It's completely different environment, but in some way we can work together and show you what we are doing, and maybe something we are missing, because that's something that we would like to do.
Yeah, and if I remember correctly, Evanescence is
compostable 100%.
Yeah, but you haven't. You're kind of new to us, right? The relationship is brand new.
It's a brand new.
Yeah. Okay. So
it's
we
a
need
brand
to do
new.
that.
That's why.
Yep. We need to walk you
that's
through.
why.
Okay. Definitely. So this is. If you guys would make sure that we're connecting with Evidence so they can see our menu. Rick.
Yeah. Yep. Okay.
I know.
You. I appreciate it.
Here.
Right.
When you were talking about youth, what's the definition there? Is it 18 to 24? Is
Great
it
question.
Broader? Is it more, should it be more narrow?
Great question. So this is where I don't want to, I want to keep it simple, because our system, what Isla and I deal with, you have to memorize all these ages, groups, and eligibilities and special things. And that's what, again, Isla, what makes the system difficult to work for employers. But in the simplest of terms, and Tom said it here in his thing about targeting K through 12, for now, when it comes to that paid opportunity, let's think about juniors and seniors, which is what Tom's recommending. He says target the juniors and seniors from the high school, especially those that are at risk, and really get them into a career path. And so this idea of paying them a stipend to go spend time with you and learn about something that could turn into a job, let's think about it to answer your question in the terms of a junior and senior in high school. Does that help?
It does.
Okay.
I'd have fear for that. Juniors
Yeah.
and seniors. I mean, we have guys that have tattoos on their face, and they're great workers, but, you know, they could be frightening to some people.
Right. And there is challenges depending, like I saw in your place, I saw some of that too, but they were making flowers. They were like big, scary guys, but they were making little soap things that looked like a little flower. Yeah. So I think those are the kind of real things, though, that we're going to be solving together, because one of you might say, all of my workers are ex-convicts, and so that there might be something there, or mine is, whatever it is. I think that those will be the speed bumps that we'll have to address. But I still think it's valid to have at least to infuse your industry with this opportunity of having paid juniors and seniors there. And they're not going to contribute like one of your entry-level people, but maybe that's your future worker. And so if we can ease that burden from our system, and again, we need CCSD and we need the permissions and the buses. There's a lot of logistics there, but that's why today is just the beginning. It's for us to really understand, if you believe that's an investment that's worthy, then we're going to move our wheels. We're going to move our wheels. So, Tom, said yours. This one is good. Okay.
A couple of things, just to comment on what you're talking about. I've already had that discussion with Tristan, and they're going to arrange to have students bused if we go the co-op route to come to our plant and work. But going back into my previous career, before I moved to Vegas, I lived in South Carolina, and this company called BMW came in and built a small city there. And they partnered with a tech college, and that tech college they had a program that was nothing but BMW. Every aspect of building the vehicle they taught in that college. Now, I know you talked about Haas. Haas is not here right now, and probably most of us don't have the deep pockets that BMW does. But, something like that, if you could focus on, some kind of classes that focus on specific things that will help, and it could help multiple companies at once. It doesn't have to be specific to PLI or whomever, but specific things that would help benefit to get people started, to get them learning, and to getting them to want to learn and move into the workforce.
So yes to all of that, because Tom showed us his model in Idaho, and as you heard, some of the workers didn't go just to Tom; they went to Caterpillar and others. And so I also went to San Antonio to see what Dr. Zaragoza from CSN did over there in San Antonio with Toyota, and they had in the Toyota plant, of course, there was the machinery, but then when we went to the community college, we saw the same machinery, and then we went to the high school, the same machinery, and so there's that progressive. The high schooler learned enough to go make maybe $18 an hour when he starts. But then if he continues with that and goes to community college to get the next level of skills, he moves up to 24 and 26, which was the earlier thing about let's be real of where you enter. Will you make 26, 28 one day? Yes, but after you take these other steps. So I think yes, and maybe you wrote this because it was talking about how college personnel designing the program go to a plant, see the technical skills that are needed, and have shadow a maintenance tech or operator to really, yeah, who, that was you? Okay. Yeah. This is how we're going to get, John, to what you were talking about, right? To building the thing that's good for all of you.
Yeah.
Go ahead, John.
Like I was saying, yes, this is, I'm a firm believer in making people who are especially going to be leading and teaching new people to go get their hands on the floor, spend a day with the maintenance techs, go see what type of equipment is out there, and and build a model in for the classroom that will actually mimic what you see, because it's the same Allen Bradley, it's the same Rockwell automation, that's pretty standard across the industry. So it doesn't matter where you go, but that curriculum would be really accurate to what's out there in manufacturing today.
So I can speak for the superintendent because he told me I can. Again, we had dinner with Tom and him a few months ago, and he said to Tom, yes, we want to do that in our schools here. Now, it's not going to happen exactly because you guys, again, are 10, 15 years ahead of us, or they were at that time. But he recognizes that that's what we need to do. And again, hence the CTE happening on Bishop Gorman's old site, the one coming to Henderson, the one North Las Vegas. These are the things that he would say if he was here, we want to build into those CTE schools. Now, I'm not going to speak for my other friend, Federico, because his team is here. So would you give them the mic to Mike over there? Because I would want to hear, Michael, from you. What is your response to when you hear the manufacturer saying, let's build stuff that matches our needs?
Actually, that's what we've been listening to for several years from the first iteration of the sector councils way back when. And that's what we've been reflecting. That's one of the reasons I'm excited to see this group, is that we need you to be part of our advisory committee process to keep us up to date and keep us on track. The program that I passed out earlier is a reflection of what we received from our advisory group. So as you find new adventures to want to take on, we want to incorporate them in our programs, and we're flexible enough where we can do that almost overnight.
Awesome. Lori, same question for you. If they, again, where the rubber meets the road is, would you be willing to retool, rebuild things if you had to meet their specific needs after you've seen and gone and said, oh, now I see what you need?
Yes, and we actually do that with multiple companies here in town right now. So we met with Amazon just the other day, and they have similar challenges with finding staff who can work in their environment. And the biggest challenge they have, though, is once the staff are there, they don't have the time or the capacity to upskill them to become leaders and frontline managers. So we're creating a 3 or 4 course program with them that they can nominate 30 students a year, whatever they want, of internal people. We'll put them through the online courses, and then they get a certificate. So when a job comes available, they know that that person has been trained in accountability, project management, how to read, whatever profit and loss statements they need. So one of our things is we work with companies to develop curriculum to meet the needs of what you have. We may not have a warehouse of tools to work with, but all of your employees need soft skills as well.
Thank you, Lori. So I think and I'm going to take a temperature check over here before we go here, but with you, I got to make sure Ying Tao, is that right? Okay, so just a temperature check, a yes/no answer, because if for UNLV, I think I know the answer, but if there is the need to retool, rebuild the programs based on what we're hearing the employers say, I want you to come see and then build exactly what I need. Is the answer yes or no to that?
Yes.
It is yes. Tom, how about you? Nevada State College, and that same, if they came to you and said, what you have doesn't match me exactly, I need ABC. If Darion, Dr. Paula was here, I think I know the answer. What would she say?
Oh, we would definitely say yes.
Yeah.
That's the goal, is to design programs that meet the needs of the employers.
Yep.
And in fact, we also are trying to look for the industry partners to help provide the instructors for people who are in the industry and who understand the work environment.
So again, that's what I heard from her 2 weeks ago when I met with her and Dr. Zaragoza. And when I met Darion, the first thing she said to me is, workforce development is economic development. And so she really gets it. And so I think that's the truth. And so I wanted to take that temperature check so you can see again the level of commitment. It's not going to happen overnight, Tom, but there's a question, but I wanted you to know that we're committed to that. Yes.
If I can be blunt on some of the stuff, how many of you folks have reached out to the academic institutions and tried to have them kind of tailor a program with some broad requirements that you have? Has any of you tried to do that in the past, locally? Okay, and you were successful in getting that implemented? Okay, that's...
I think, for us, I think it was a good experience. I don't think we got what we wanted out of the experience, but we had 1 candidate out of 5. I guess that's not too bad. One thing that we haven't talked about, though, and I think we not just focusing on the mechanics, but focusing on the growth of mid-level management. That's what we struggle with the most, probably, is it's very easy to bring a manager in and put a manager over a department. But having someone at that group lead, team lead level that can handle a shift when a supervisor's out or something to that effect, that is where we struggle bad. So that's why I put on my little sticky note about coaching the mid-level management. You know, in leadership classes, teaching them how to handle situations of conflict, you know, dealing with situations in the workplace, so that you can have them, you can trust them to be that person when, you know, you don't have a manager or a supervisor present. So I think not only should we be focusing on the mechanic side of it, is the people growth side too.
The reason I brought up the question I did is because over the last, let's see, I started Nevada Tech 12 years ago. So we were at that time about 25 to 30 people. We're about close to 250 to 300 people now. And I remember I was having challenges with test techs. So I reached out to several local colleges, but only one of them actually replied back, ITT Tech at the time. And the HR director actually started working with me, and I started hiring a lot from them until they closed shop. Then I did reach out to several other institutions. I reached out to all the campuses, HR directors, invited them into our shop. I offered to hold meetings with our lead engineers because, one, I'm not the owner. I mean, a lot of people here, I see a couple owners, but a lot of us are not owners. We're senior managers. But even when we have to present something, there's got to be some fruition. I can't just keep, you know, shooting duds, as they say. And at some point, my management's going to say, you're wasting your time because I'm here for a couple of hours. And if I keep doing this over and over and over, and I can't show anything for it, at some point, my company, my bosses will just say, you know, don't bother. And I've felt that before. I don't want to take institutions' names, but we've had faculties come in, so much excitement and no follow-up. I mean, I've worked a lot to work with my owner to open up our shop and our technical resources, but nothing's happened. And I can understand the challenges the institutions have because they have to develop curriculums that broadly apply to people. Unfortunately, going to Amazon and just like MGMs and such does not take care of us. One, I've worked in bigger companies and smaller companies. Bigger companies, jobs tend to be more specialized. Smaller companies, you're expected to do more. You have a lot more responsibilities and you have to learn a lot. So there's a lot more. But that's why I wrote in there, define a common list of curriculum items. Right now, I think there's a bunch of you here, and I know a lot of our employees, we're circling through. I know some of my stuff goes to Aristocrat, his probably goes to VSR, and then they come back to me. So we're rehashing the same talent pool over and over again, and they'll just take a raise, go to the next place, and that's all we get. The rut keeps going. We don't get any new infusion of talent. It's because I can't find the candidates that match our requirements or close to our requirements. So if we've got the people here, I'm open to working, and I know I can get my president to back me and say, hey, what can we do to help define some narratives, maybe work with the guys at Aristocrat or VSR or anybody else in that field and define some broad requirements that would work for all of us. I mean, there's a lot of examples you can do, like CNC. A lot of people here CNC. Number one thing you need CNC, you need Mastercam and all that other stuff. It doesn't matter which company we are at. Everyone's going to have that need at some point. And that's the part I've been frustrated with because there's been a lot of talk, but unfortunately not enough follow through. And it's difficult to come here over and over and not get any action.
Before I go to Ray, I hear you. Irene, there's 3 Latin words in my office. What do they say? Acta non verba. You know that guy who was here saying I'm a pain in the ass, when my IT guy? I'm all actions. And so I'll make you a personal commitment. If it's happening through this industry sector partnership, there'll be actions behind words. And so we'll be careful also to measure that. but that'll make you a personal commitment. And again, I can say that because Michael and Dan are here representing Federico. Federico said, we're going to make it happen. What these employers want, we will make happen. Tristan left, but Jesus, same thing. He says, you say, we're going to make it happen. And so, again, in the context of this convening and the work that you're about to do over the next few weeks as work groups that you're going to choose in just a minute, my personal commitment to you is there will be actions behind these words. So, Ray.
I was just going to follow. I think you raised a lot of great points. Startup companies face that challenge even more than mid-size and larger companies. I mean, the non-return calls, startups don't have the energy or the resources to burn a lot of time. But I think what we've noticed moving here is that Nevada is a place where access is very easy here because it's a smaller market than other places, but influence is very difficult. And so it almost suggests that there's an opportunity to create this almost like a think tank or steering committee that has influence and access where it's represented by members that are at this table, ones that wouldn't include us, so I'm not volunteering. But for these gentlemen that have larger concerns that are investing in the local economy and hiring 300 employees or more, 250, you guys get a seat at the table next to legislators, also with academia. And so instead of it being a disjointed process of us trying to figure out how to make this work at academia or in the private sector, we have this coalition, this board almost, that is a manufacturing board that's represented by Southern Nevada, and we make decisions together and implement those decisions. And I think there's accountability in that. We can create that.
Thank you, Ray.
Yeah, just add some context to that. So, and I'll just take 2 minutes, Rick, to clarify what I was saying before. Is not necessarily get high school students working, but we start going after these high school students to get them in programs that by the time they're ready to get out of high school, they're already trained to go into specific jobs, right? We did the exact same thing up in North Idaho. We created the manufacturing consortium. I called it the manufacturing mafia. But we got 12 of the biggest manufacturing companies up there, and we happen to be one of the largest private employers up there for a period of time. We had almost 400 employees. And we were the ones that set the curriculum for this high school level education, this K-Tech that we developed, because we recognize the same thing. North Idaho had different challenges. It came out of the lumber industry that was decimated. It left a void, and then all these kids were, we were leaving the area. We targeted specifically kids are at risk of dropping out of high school because they just didn't see any other opportunities. Not to slam anybody in the higher education, but not everybody's set up to be a liberal arts student. We've lost all of our technical training. That's why Germany succeeded for so many years. They kept their apprentice programs. They kept, it was not a bad thing to become a machinist in Germany, where we've lost that. And I think that's also a generational thing where, my parents wanted me to do better than they did. Both my mom and dad were factory workers, and guess what? They did just fine by me, and same with my kids. And I think that's a mindset that has changed. So that's why we really specifically targeted getting these kids in high school, show them they don't have to drop out of high school. We can put them in the technical program. I just looked up real quickly here the curriculum of this high school. To your point, technical math and science is one of the things we teach them, because that leads into automated manufacturing design, automotive technology, auto body repair, construction trades, computer repair and networking, diesel technology, welding. We have a CNA health professional program up there, and these are juniors and seniors in high schools that are starting to get exposed to this stuff. So there's a natural progression then for them to prepare themselves to go, whether they go on to the next level now that we've got the local community college taking it to the next level like CSN, but this leads them into that, to show, get them early, get them at 17 and 18 years old and show them that there's a real career opportunity for them, right? Sometimes trying to get them at the college, that was too late. They've already dropped out of high school. They don't qualify for some of these programs. So that's where I think this group, to your point, can assert some influence, because we are the job providers. And we do, it is a viable opportunity outside the gaming industry. And I like your idea of creating a manufacturing mafia.
I love it. Scott, so I don't know if you noticed, but it just got real here, because they took over the mics and started talking to each other, and that's what we wanted, right? Because you are in charge, all of you. And again, we are we want to be your partners in this. Again, we have resources, but we wanted to be guided by you. So thank you for being candid. Thank you for speaking with passion, because I can tell now you're invested. And so since you're invested, I'm going to stop this for a second and ask you first, which group, if there's one or if there's all, would you want to make sure that you or somebody you assign stays connected to? Because we're going to have more conversations to really bake this and come back and say, here's a solution. So I need for you to tell me, I want to be a part of this one, or that one, or a combination. The middle one. So would you please put his name here? And now it's your turn. I want
to be part of the influencing the younger people out there to know that this industry is here and it's available, and there's actual career, not a job. You know, there's jobs and there's careers, and we offer both, but I want to be part of influencing the younger generations to let them know that this stuff is
ties to education. Now, I do notice that, again, in this recruitment retention strategy, there's some of that, because when we talk about changing the narrative, it includes some of the initiatives. So, John, I'm not pitching you.
Well, I mean, wherever it is that I can talk to younger youth.
So let's make sure that John is called when we're going to be discussing that kind of stuff in this one. Or maybe we need to polish this out again more to separate and make sure we're not duplicating. But Rick, the question for you, same. 1, 2, 3.
1 or 3.
1 or 3. So over there, immediate hiring needs, or here, recruitment and retention. Let's get him on that list.
But I'm leaning more towards 3.
Okay, he wants 3. So Vicente, Vicente, he's going to be on that one over there. Yep, you got him? Okay. Your turn.
I would like to be on 1 and 2 if possible.
Yep. So we got 1 and 2, Vicente, for Chad. John.
I think I need to be on the ties to education.
Okay. John right there, number 2.
Education.
All right. Same for Ray right there. And
same for me, number 2.
All right. Jason's on number 2.
Well, I'm going to go on a limb since they both report to me. I'm also going to put Jason on recruitment and retention, and Ken here on immediate hiring needs, since he's our director of HR.
See how the boss thing works there? Voluntold.
And I'll take the ties to education.
Did you catch all that, Vicente? The 3 of them? Okay. He divided them in between the 3, so yeah, Ken got his assignment. Jason.
1 and 2 if possible.
All right, so Jason was 1 and 2, Vicente. And then
I will take number 1.
Okay, Victor is number 1.
I think you mean 3, right?
Oh, this one you meant. I'm sorry, right here. This one is Victor, Vicente, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Victor wants this one.
I'm sorry, number 3 then.
Yep.
You can put me under 1 and 2.
All right, Alex goes over there, 1 and 2.
I'll do 1 and 2 as well, please.
And Dean wants 1 and 2 as well. And now Nick.
I'll go with 2.
All right, and Nick goes in the middle. Perfect. So again, you'll hear from us. We're going to summarize all this stuff, and you'll be invited to, we think, Zoom meetings. I mean, because our goal would be, after really baking this, to come back like we are today in person and have Jara here, Saragosa here, Lori up here, whoever is that the solutions are going to come from, and kind of say, is this what you wanted? Yes, then let's go. No, let's make adjustments. Let's do that. But again, you're in charge. And so I just wanted you to picture what's coming next. So thank you for signing up for these work groups. And so let's dive into this one and start to ask you, Jake, I'll let you take it. You want some solutions on paper.
Yeah, I think we actually kind of touched on this at the very beginning. But so again, same exercise. We're using our red, pinkish Post-it color. Again, just throw out some ideas you have for trying to get some of these immediate hiring needs filled.
All right, let's get started. So again, these are very specific. You guys want machine operators. So how does that happen? Is the only way we can get them to you is find somebody who already knows how to operate a machine? Or again, like I've heard you say, no, Jaime, find me somebody who has a pulse and I'll teach them. I don't know, that's probably too broad, but find me somebody who has an interest in my industry, who matches this and this profile, and then let's do that OJT with you that you talked about, where you subsidize some of the wages for the training period since I'm training them, or the forklift. You say, well, I need a forklift operator. I don't certify that. You got to send them to CSN or somebody else. Okay, we can pay for that. Workforce Connections can pay for those certifications. So start to tell us, how do we practically address some of these things? How do we get frontline workers to you? Again, it might be those alternate labor pools that we've been discussing, right? All right, so let's see what's coming in. So, This is interesting because my HR person tells me about this all the time. So how do we partner with LinkedIn Learning? Who can tell me more about that?
I just know because I use it.
Oh, yes.
I use it for my own thing. So if I don't understand something, I'll go on it. But obviously, LinkedIn Learning's connect to your LinkedIn profile. And if I know Microsoft or these corporations, you could go, if you partner with them, I would assume they'd say, here's all the people in your area that have subscribed to these courses or are in middle of these courses that you can then actively reach out. So they might not be the 100% machinists that you knew, but now they have taken those steps to educate themselves so they have that vested interest into knowing that they have an opportunity that maybe they're not accredited, but you have half the battle fought for you by seeing there's interest, they've taken action on their own, now you could kind of help further them along.
And is this something that each employer would have to do, or are you suggesting that as an industry, we partner with LinkedIn Learning?
I could be either or.
Okay.
I would think as it's probably easier for, like for me, LinkedIn Learning couldn't give two shits about what I'm doing. But somebody that has 300 or 400 people, yes, or workforce connection, you have people that are coming to you and you advise them to go through this.
Okay.
And you have that kind of access. It's kind of
Gotcha. Interesting. Yeah, I had not thought about that strategy. How about this one? Again, it's off your theme, Scott. We had last month the Made in Nevada event where Tom, Ray, and who else was on the panel? I was there. And you guys were there, right? And so this idea says a Made in Nevada job fair for only manufacturing. So I know we've talked about it. So who wrote this? You really like that idea.
We talked
so tell
about
me
it,
more.
yeah. No, I just think that's amazing, right? When you said it, just being in manufacturing, especially in Las Vegas, like I said before, my whole life, I've never seen anything like that. You know, when you have job fairs and you go to job fairs, it's either just a bunch of, you know, different companies that are there for different reasons, just never manufacturing, right? And I think that's going to be amazing if we can actually do that.
I think we're going to do it. I mean, I've heard you loud and clear today. So Malik, Robbie, I don't know where are you, Malik, Robbie? Oh, they did. Okay, so Sonia, if we can make sure that we touch base with our teammates that are planning the next job fairs, and we need to slide this one in on the top. This will be our very first industry focused. It's come. The employers are asking for it, so we just slide it to the very. We need to start planning this. And like Scott was saying, may we get big at the Dollar Loan Center. Just, you know, go big, right? So I'm really excited about that. Okay, this other one says different methods of sourcing the employees, I think. Do we use a temp agency? Do we use social media, to your point? Or, oh, he must be a doctor, whoever wrote this. Intern would love to share social salary? No, that's the, who wrote this one? Okay, here, I'll let you read it. You had compartments.
I like the idea. I like the idea of, you know, somehow sharing in, you know, salaries and things of that nature. You know, so internships. Yeah, I don't write very well.
That's all right.
And then, of course, you know, different avenues for sourcing, using Instagram, Twitter.
Okay, and we want to help you again. I'm starting to hear, which I'm glad to hear, a open-mindedness from all of you, willingness to come out as an industry and have a job fair as an industry, to have a message and a narrative as an industry. And also to tell you, just to touch lightly, we're here, Workforce Connections was authorized by 8 local elected officials, a consortium, they're called a consortium, to invest all this time and resources to support you. Because they believe it already. Councilwoman Michelle Romero from Henderson is one of my bosses. Was here. She'd be thrilled. We have a council person from North Las Vegas, Boulder City, and then commissioners from Clark, Lincoln, Esmeralda, and Nye. So you already have local elected officials that are bought into this idea, that have approved it. But to your point about I think that's a building stone to form this manufacturing mafia, right? That's going to have the advocacy voice, not just at the city councils, the counties, but also our state legislature and DC if we need to. So really love how you guys are open to that idea of acting as a group. Any other thoughts there, Jake, on the immediate hiring needs?
This is an interesting one just because I'm not sure what it means, but it says anything but zero-sum gain.
Over there, Jason.
Yeah, so what I mean by that is we're all in different industries, but we're all in manufacturing. And I don't do any good locally if I just steal your forklift driver or I go steal your maintenance guy, right, or girl. It doesn't do anything, right? What we want to do is take something that's a loss somewhere. So say maybe there's a town in another state that's got a big layoff of a mill or something like that. Somebody there says, hey, I've always wanted to be a maintenance person. I'm this close to it. Well, I pay him to get over here and you help train him, right? Do that little shift sideways. So I hate that zero-sum game, like where it doesn't help anybody and we're all in this together one way or another. And if we just steal employees, if we have great recruiting methods and you don't, all I've done is steal your employees. That doesn't help.
Thank you. Any other thoughts on that? I wanted to acknowledge that multiple of you are saying that job fair. So I mean, again, consider it done. We're gonna we have to look at timing and all that, but we're gonna make it happen. First ever, big time. So we'll need you, Scott, to help us organize a big time, high profile, lots of ahead of time storytelling to drive crowds we've never seen before into a place for you. I'm already visualizing that. So, and we'll, again, work with our skill acquisition partners that are here in the room to make that happen. So, and who knows what we're going to learn in that process, too, about the effectiveness to, you know, to routing those alternate labor pools to them. Anything else here? Yes, Ken.
I think a few things that help with immediate hiring needs is when we really promote our benefit program, when we promote things like if we were able to do tuition reimbursement, promote opportunity for advancement, make them understand they have a career path. And hopefully that will engage them in making a commitment.
Yeah. So again, I think that's going to be a part of the narrative we tell when we say if you're interested in meeting employers that have A, B, C, D, this is the place you want to be. And ABCD is the devil in the detail, right? A long-term career with advancement opportunities, tuition reimbursement, culture, all these things that I think we're going to have to do a good job. Ray. Oh, where's the mic? Oh, I'm sorry. Here. I didn't see it. Did you get your... Oh, go ahead. Sorry, I messed up there.
Just a quick comment there. I think part of the storytelling is, to make it simple, is can we highlight success stories from within the industry? People that have started out as frontline workers that are ideally Vegas born and raised, right? That'd be the ultimate. But you know, who are those folks that have gone on to become the most aspirational versions, right? Because I think people resonate with the facts tell, but stories sell, right? Pulling together some of these stories of hope, as we would call them, would be an ideal way to kind of get people emotionally engaged around this whole thing, I think.
I'm not in the. I'm not directly in HR, but and I know things change all the time in terms of how hiring is done. But with the institutions, is there a common, like, let's say graduation lists are coming up with CSN, maybe University of Phoenix, and other organizations? Do you folks have a common portal that you could at least post maybe your grads on? Like in the old days, you used to have Monster, where you could have posted resumes and I could just go in there and check it out. Nowadays, there's just nothing common. I mean, we just go Indeed and all these other ZipRecruiter. But if we're trying to be targeted for our industry, in the old days, I used to ask for graduation classes. They used to come and then they faded away. But if there was a common portal that the institution could post to, that would be fantastic.
So did you guys on my team, let's go to Alex next, but on my team, oh, I'm sorry, Lori was waiting, then Alex. I want to let my team just write this down because this request speaks to is employee and B as a management information system for our system able to do that? Are the institutions, of these skill acquisition partners, are they able to post it? I think that's the question that we have to ask ourselves, right? Are we as a state or as a group of partners that is trying to help them actually giving them a simple tool where they can go to one database and find all the graduates, all of the potential workers? I think the answer right now is no, but this is what we need to hear, that question, so we can go back and see if we can solve it.
Well, and that would be great. I know something similar happens on all the other programs like OJT reimbursements and things like that, because I remember I was at a meeting, economic development, and some people weren't workforce were there, and I was representing Vadatech, but I went to the HR director. She went on a call. She said, I'd like you to be on it. And there was a lot of discussion, but there was 3 or 4 people on it, but everyone was different agency. And, well, we can do only so much, and then, well, we can only do so much. And the other person says, well, we don't do this, but we can only do so much. It seemed so complicated. I was like, well, great thing I'm not in HR, because this seemed very, very difficult. And it doesn't seem like, it seems like everyone is together, but yet you are different agencies. And there's sometimes is that lack of single point of contact or a single website or portal to go to do all this. It's very difficult otherwise.
So you've touched on what they call a really sore spot for us, right? And I appreciate you doing that, because for us, what he's saying is, whether it's Dieter, Goen, Workforce Connections, Nevada Works, Sandy, Silver State Works, we're really good at creating all these different things, and for them that looks, for them that must look like a jungle, and so I'm grateful that you're saying that, because again, this is an opportunity for us to get better at that. So I've heard you, and if we can make sure we take note of that, because that's something we have to talk about, again, at a level as high as the Governor's Workforce Development Board. Are we really, as a WIOA system, we say we're together, but when we hand them 17 different applications, we're really not together. And so that's a really valid point. I know, Laura, you've been waiting.
It's all right. I needed to stand up anyway.
Okay, go ahead.
Just to your point about benefits, we work with a lot of companies that have tuition benefits, and it's awesome to have benefits, right? But if you can't activate those and tell the story, oftentimes they sit dormant and nobody uses them. So in my experience, what happens is somebody finds out somebody in your organization went to college, and somebody finds out they're in college, and then all of a sudden there's this ripple effect, and they become activated. And one of the services that we provide, and many of the non-traditional schools do this, is we can come sit in your lunchroom, and we can put a table up, and we can bring donuts, and we can talk to your staff as they take breaks or as shift changes, and just share with them what your benefits are and some of the programs that we offer that align with what you're looking for and align with what your benefits allow. And also, to your point, the alumni success story, that is like the key to activating those benefits, because again, oftentimes, especially adults or people that are already done with high school and didn't go straight to college, it's time, fear, and money. Like, those 3 things are a mountain that they'll never be able to climb times 3. They feel like in their mind. But once they see somebody in their circle that did it, all of a sudden it's like, ooh, if they did it, maybe I can do it. So we have a whole activation plan that we use when we work with organizations like yours, and we come in, we set up a lunch and learn. We might sit and talk to your managers one day just to educate them on your benefits and what we have to offer. We can pull anybody who works for you that may have been an alumni. We can create a success story with you and their consent. There's a whole launch process that goes with that we do all the time. So please utilize all of us. And I don't only speak for University of Phoenix. That goes for every education institution. We can do those things. And in addition to that, the question that you asked about, can you find graduates? We actually can partner with your organization, and you can say, hey, I'm filling this many positions. We can e-blast and market to all of our alumni in the market, all of our current students in the market, and we can set up Zoom calls, we can set up information sessions virtually, and bring you 20 people, bring you 30 people. And you can have somebody on that Zoom call just giving, the high level, here's what it looks like, here's how you get in touch with us. So that those are definitely opportunities and things we do every day.
I think she answered my question.
All right, I want to be mindful of our time together. It's 2:25, is that correct? So I want to make sure that you can get on the tour. And so in the last 5 minutes, again, I got you already. You'll hear from us on when we're scheduling these work groups to discuss this, bake this with our partners, and come back one day here for next steps. But until then, I guess the last 5 minutes, I just want to open it to the floor to say, are we missing anything today? We were purposeful of following a method that, again, that you've seen hopefully today puts you and your voice at the middle. But have we missed anything that you haven't heard but you were hoping to hear? Anybody? Have you, did we not touch on something that you thought, I hope they're going to talk about this because it's important? It's my first question. Yes, Nick.
I just know from other companies that I've done this in North Las Vegas with, one of their other biggest concerns was transportation for those employees, that it's difficult that some of their hourly employees, there's not enough public transportation to get them to these sites, especially if you're opening up on over by M Resort. That's quite difficult to get to if there's no bus route or something at a minimum there, which...
So, Scott, I'm going to speak on behalf of our friend MJ Maynard from the RTC, if she was here, she would say the RTC is open to working with employers on those kinds of things. And so, again, I don't know all the details of how it would happen, because I think even sometimes it would be a combination of the regular transit we know of buses with something else smaller, specialized. And so, but again, if that issue of transportation exists and is something that has to be built from scratch by RTC, I think we have a willing partner there. Scott, would you agree with that?
Possibly. There's some challenges there. We've tried to do similar things in the past with mixed results. So, but the willingness to have the conversation.
Okay. So again, like he said, there is complexity to every, and they, by the way, are also suffering shortage of drivers. So you're right. I mean, there's no guarantee there. I'm grateful that Scott said that. I know that there's the willingness that MJ would come in and say, is it an employer? Is it a cluster of employers? I know in Henderson that the West Henderson campus that will house Haas, right? They will house Haas and their supply chain. That's going to be a cluster of employers that would probably merit a lot of attention. Now, there's probably a bus route there already, but very good point about transportation. In this case, it's public. When you were saying transportation, I thought if one of your employees has transportation barriers, we have funding to help with that. But I know you weren't talking about that. Anybody else? Yes, back there. And then I'm going to come back here to Tom.
So my experience working with various employers, one common thing that always comes up to me.
Can you get him a mic, please? Where is it? Oh, here. Here. Yep. And I got to come back to Chad and then Tom.
In my current position, and speaking to various employers, when they talk to me about retention, one of the things that always comes up to me is child care. I'm not quite sure if any of you are experiencing child care issues, and as opposed to how that affects retention and also recruiting. Does the state have anything to address that, or do you guys have anything in the works to address child care when it comes to retaining and benefits for employers?
Thank you for that. The short answer is yes. And so I would take 10 minutes to update on everything that's happening around childcare. But it is a real issue that right now there's tons of efforts, resources being poured into it to create solutions. So again, we can bring, if that's something that you want to put on this conversation, we can. We'll share with you exactly what's happening with childcare. I'll give you one example. The school district is struggling to hire drivers for the buses, and so one of these efforts is to provide childcare for that bus driver so they can come to work. And so, I mean, that's quick, but yes, childcare is an issue in the equation, and it's being addressed. So I know you've been waiting, Chad, and then I'm coming to Tom.
Yeah, so to comment on the bus situation, RTC did work with us. They didn't create a bus route, but they did change the bus route times to adjust to our work times to get people to work on time. So they didn't have to stand out and wait an hour on the bus to get there. So they will work with you in that aspect. The other thing that I was going to bring up earlier about retention, to touch on what Ray said, what we do to try to encourage people during new employee orientation, we bring the whole management team in, all department managers, and 80% of our department managers are homegrown, so they've been through the system. And we let them tell their story about how they came in as an operator, worked their way up to a lead, to a supervisor, to a manager. And it goes a long way. I like to think it gives the people hope. I mean, it's not, they don't come in thinking it's a dead-end job. And we try to let them know that your hard work will be noticed and you will move up in the company. So that's kind of what we do to make it happen.
How high did you have to go to get the RTC to make that?
That was an HR question, not operations.
Okay, Tom.
So, Jaime, you asked if there was one thing that we want you to touch on. I think one thing I've heard today was a lot of, oh, there's money available for this, there's money available for childcare, there's money. I think if there was a summary of all of the incentives that were available and opportunities that were available to manufacturers, because I mean, we were laughing about it earlier. Literally, have somebody just full time, just trying to deal with,
Yes.
like find all this
Yes.
stuff. So, as a resource, if there was one place where we could go to say, hey, if we're trying to recruit, here's childcare opportunities, so that doesn't become a barrier to employment. There's transportation, whatever monies are available that we as employers can take advantage of, so that we had a single source to be able to go to find that information, I think would be really, really helpful.
So thank you for that, because it does again challenge us, Isla, as you know, our system that we work in on this side, we have a lot of opportunity for improvement too, and that's one of them. And so just putting that on the table makes us, again, realize that, Jake, George, you guys know, a map, right, for them, because our world is too complicated. And so that's a really good point. And so, Isla, that's something we have to work on, I think, at all levels. It's not just showing the map, but sometimes the map still points to places where there's people not working together, and they're getting, again, 4 different applications, 4 different things, and they don't have the time for that. So that's an opportunity and improvement for us, so thank you for holding us. Ray.
2 quick topics. These are both for different days and maybe a slightly different group. One is obviously the elephant in the room is affordable housing is having an impact on workforce availability. We've had to recruit outside of the state to bring talent in because we're short on talent. So one would just be at some point getting some dialogue around what's the investment in affordable housing and what impact will that have on helping us to bring people here or keep people here, one. And then 2 would be ARPA, the $7 billion check the federal government sent to the state. How can we take advantage of some of those ARPA funds that are kind of making their way through the state agencies to help bolster our workforce development as well? Just separate data.
Yeah, so great. I think I gave you an update earlier, and Irene, this is something I think that we need our local official consortium to hear, right? Because, again, different agencies decided to deal with it different. I'll give you 2 examples. Clark County in Las Vegas put out a process by which us and other agencies said, where could you use the money? And we said, for this, industry sector partnerships, helping employers recover, grow. And so they gave us $1 million to, again, help these 7 industry sectors. Again, we've applied for the other $28 million we talked about, but we're still in play with Clark County. But it's a valid point, Ray, that we want to make sure that and then some of it, of course, went to the school district. I think that's 1.something billion, $700 million is what the school district got, right? It's the highest one of all, unless the state. But I hear you. So we got to make sure that the American Recovery Plan money is actually helping this kind of industry as well. All the industries, but you're a part of it. So I heard you loud and clear. Anybody else on a point for us to, as we take away? We have other things, as Ray said, that perhaps will be ongoing. But again, you will hear from us on these 3, and we're going to maybe weigh the amount of people and the topics. If we can combine it to 2, maybe we will. We'll let you know. That's our work next. Again, I can't thank you enough for being here, being candid, open, transparent. I want to thank Scott, his team, our skill acquisition partners who are here. As you can tell, hopefully we did a good enough job of letting you be the star of the show. You are, again, the most important voice as we craft this solution together. My promise stands that there will be actions behind these words that we're giving you now. We've heard you. We're going to go to work. And these partners that are here, again, there's commitment from them as well that I know is real, because I'm seeing it every day. So please give yourselves a hand, because you did a lot of good work today. Irene, are we forgetting anything? No? Okay, so now I guess I'm going to give you back to CSN, right? Who's in charge of the tours? Is that you, Michael and Dan? Are you guys doing the tours? Or is there somebody? Yes? Okay, so those of you who are doing the tour, you're free to go. Make sure you take your stuff. If you need anything else from us, we'll be here for the next few minutes. Thank you, everybody.